Check, check. 1, 2. Sending beta. Streaming. Very nice. We're going live every single day of 2026, so make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. All right. Let's see what's happening in the world today. My goodness.
Flames lit up the streets of Jerusalem on April 23rd. But this wasn't a clash with an external enemy. This was dissent from within. As Israel marked another year since its founding, a group of ultra-Orthodox Jews took to the streets not to celebrate, but to reject the existence of the country itself.
My oh my.
The protest unfolded in Mea Shearim, one of the most conservative religious neighborhoods in Jerusalem, where supporters of the anti-Zionist group Neturei Karta marched through narrow streets, chanting slogans and holding banners carrying bold and critical messages, such as Judaism and Zionism are diametrically opposed. The Zionist state challenges God. Anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism, and State of Israel does not represent world Jewry.
Man.
Crowds repeated chants as speakers addressed the gathering through microphones, reinforcing their rejection of Zionism, a nationalist political ideology that calls for the creation of a national state for the Jewish people that led to the creation of Israel in historic Palestine. Children were seen holding Palestinian flags, some inscribed in Arabic, English, and Hebrew, with text that read, quote, "Jews are not Zionists," unquote. In one of the most striking scenes, Israeli flags were set ablaze. Children stood nearby, watching as flames consumed the state. One protester described the state as a betrayal of Judaism, claiming it threatens religious identity and traditions, and calling for its end.
Okay, we are here.
So what's going to happen with all this, man? This is some drama happening over here.
After 78 years of rebellion against God and his purposes, in which a Zionist state was established that came to trample every trace of Judaism and Jews. And they want to, aside from wanting to draft us into the army of destruction, they want Jewish identity to be gone and Jewish dress.
Is that the reason? Is it actually because of the draft? Is that what's happening?
To be gone, and every Jewish marker to be gone. They want touches of Jewish symbols within Zionism. And so we solemnly declare here today, after 78 long and arduous years of rebellion, that on the anniversary of the day this state was first established, we mourn, we fast, we walk the city streets in sackcloth and ashes, and we continue to hope and fervently pray for the swift and total dissolution of this state.
Another participant said his community considered themselves the quote-unquote real Jews, and argued that according to their faith, Jews are forbidden from establishing a state before the arrival of the Messiah.
Announce in the whole world that we are the Jews, the real Jews, and we are not allowed by our faith to have any state until our Mashiach will come. And until then, we have no state. We are ordered to be managed by the nations, under the nations. And they are not Jews, absolutely not Jews. They confuse the whole world. They acting like Jews. It's like Hollywood. They're acting like Jews. They speak our language, and the whole world fell by believing them that they are the real Jews. But actually, they are not the Jews. They are not real Jews, and unfortunately, we are stuck in this place. We know with no possibility to leave this place, but we really have, by our faith, to leave this place and go to out of Israel, what they call Israel, yeah? And I will bless every...
There's some massive rebellion going on over here, and he's speaking and being a videographer. Extremely wild.
Every nation who will give us the opportunity to be their citizens, because we are people with no citizenship. We have no place in the world except this place, and we are willing to leave this place just to prove the world that we are not them. And everybody who wants to know the whole truth should read the book Vayoel Moshe of Admor Misatmer, the chief rabbi of Satmer. He wrote a book. You should get it translated to French, to English, to Japanese, and you should know the truth about all
How you doing, Signum Crucis? Happy to have you here, buddy.
this thing that is called the State of Israel, which is, forgive me for the word and forgive my beard.
There you go, King Trump. That's right.
Never use this word, but there is no better word to say this is real bullshit.
For groups like Neturei Karta, the establishment of Israel, marked annually as Israeli Independence Day, is seen not as liberation, but as a religious violation. They believe Jewish sovereignty must not exist until divine intervention, and that the modern state contradicts core religious teachings. And in a region defined by conflict and identity, this protest reveals a lesser-seen divide. A reminder that in one of the world's most contested lands, even the meaning of a nation is still fiercely debated.
So here, I guess a bunch of Israelis are trying to shut down Netanyahu's, not my words, but BS in Jerusalem, allegedly. And so a lot of these people do not want to get drafted and do not want to fight and, yeah, all of that type of stuff. Thank you for jumping in on the chat, Ducky Momo. How you guys doing? Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. We're going live every single day of 2026, and become a member if you want to, and throw in some super chats if you want. And we have Dude A Element saying, those are lunatic minorities. There you go. Clary Peace saying, the greatest president ever in history, most intelligent man in history, with a heart sign. There you go. There you go. Judy, is this not accurate? What's going on? Israel is the devil state, a genocidal state full of Europeans. None of them are Semites. yeah. There's a lot of these people in Israel are protesting against the current control. Juddy, I can't repeat your comment, buddy, but thank you so much, man. Bros Only says Israel did nothing wrong. Yeah, this is actually the mass protest against the government in Israel. This is what we're showing right now, buddy. Thank you, user Random Alphabet. Happy to have y'all here. Right there, did you see that? It says anti-Zionism is not anti-Semite.
A bold claim from Washington.
Oh, are you saying that's an AI video? Yo, Terry, how you doing, buddy? Happy to have you here.
And we'll be talking about Iran later. We have
a mocking response from Tehran.
We were so close, but...
And now a war of words is unfolding on the global stage. U.S. President Donald Trump recently claimed that Iran had agreed to halt the execution of women protesters, following his request, calling it very good.
Tune Triple X saying Biden, I think he's trying to say Biden, was the strongest and most athletic president in history. There you go. Wakar says, hey guys, Zionists are very nice people. Chris Dezik says Haji had it coming. Clary says Trump wants world peace. This is the only way he could do it.
Good news. But Iran says that claim is completely false, with officials insisting there were no such execution plans to begin with.
If you think this is AI, let's see how many fingers they got. They got 4 fingers there, all right.
And Iran's response was not limited to denial. It also resorted to public mockery of the US president. Iran's embassy in Saudi Arabia posted a sarcastic message which read, quote, "Hooray! Trump saved 8 AI-generated people."
That's from the Iranian embassy? Man.
Unquote. A following post also included images of 8 women who the embassy claimed were to be executed, but later hinted that the pictures were created using artificial intelligence. The post read, quote, "8 other Iranian girls are going to be executed in Iran tomorrow. Ask Trump to help. Thanks to ChatGPT," unquote. This is being seen as a direct jab at what Iran calls a fabricated narrative. Meanwhile, Iran's embassy in Sierra Leone denied Trump's.
The user Random Alphabet says Iran is actually cooking with the Lego videos. There you go. Bros Only says, I love Trump. Are those Lego videos gnarly? Do we got to see them? I don't think I've seen one yet.
Claim with a post on X reading, "Fact check. 4 of those 8 Iranian women Trump cited for hanging yesterday have been free for weeks. The others aren't facing execution. They're in custody awaiting trial on charges that carry prison time, not execution." He also lied about 800 executions in Iran months ago. Bottom line, Trump is a losing warmonger, a liar, and absolutely Lulu. Iran's judiciary has also doubled down, calling the claim misleading. Iran's judiciary news agency, Mizan, reportedly carried.
K-School says those aren't even the same women. Yeah, those are all 8 completely different AI-generated women, allegedly. Bros Only says, look at videos of Iran before Islam. My goodness. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, going live every day at 2026, and become a member. That helps. Throw in some super chats if you want to support the channel. Thank you.
A report with a statement that said, quote, "Trump's empty-handedness on the battlefield has pushed him towards fabricating achievements from false news," unquote. Another statement by the judiciary's official Mizan online website added, quote, "Trump was misled once again by fake news," unquote. Despite Iran's denial, the White House has supported Trump's claim. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, in an
Josh M. says Iran always had Islam, but it became radicalized after CIA involvement.
interview to Fox News, said, quote, "Only President Trump could save the lives of these 8 beautiful Iranian women. Their lives are going to be spared," unquote. Analysts warn that what we're seeing now is more than just a disagreement. It's a battle of narratives, where politics, media, and even AI are colliding. Meanwhile, separately, commenting on the war with Iran amid a fragile ceasefire extension declared unilaterally by Trump, Leavitt presented a brave face, claiming that the cards are in the US president's hands right now.
So allegedly Israel gives a shocking warning to Turkey. What's the reason Israel wants to go to Turkey?
Great questions, and I will answer them. Let's level set on where we are. As you all saw yesterday, President Trump announced an extension of the ceasefire. He's maintaining and generously offering a bit of flexibility to a regime who has been completely tarnished because of Operation Epic Fury. There's obviously a lot of internal division. This is a battle between the pragmatists and the hardliners in Iran right now, and the president wants a unified response. And so as we await that response, there's a ceasefire with the military and kinetic strikes, but Operation Economic Fury continues, and the effective and successful naval blockade continues as well of ships and vessels that are moving to and from Iranian ports. We are completely strangling their economy through this blockade. They're losing $500 million a day.
$500 million a day? Man, oh man.
Targ Island is completely full. They can't move oil in and out. They can't even pay their own people as a result of this economic leverage that President Trump has inflicted over them. So he's satisfied with that as we await their response, and we will see. The president has not set a firm deadline to receive an Iranian proposal, unlike some of the reporting I've seen today. Ultimately, the timeline will be dictated by the commander-in-chief and the president of the United States. Look, again, I'm not going to set a timetable for the president.
We got a request to see Iran before the revolution in 1970s life
Iran,
under the Shah.
a country brimming with energy, exploding with construction and development, a dynamic state with a thriving capital.
We got user Random Alphabet saying $500 million a day is nothing to people that have lived in a desert their entire lives.
Iran today, women even playing soccer.
Oh, did you see that little, where is this? Their old flag right here. They have a little nice, what is that on there?
Iran today, women even playing soccer. Symbol of a radical revolution against deep-rooted taboos, habits, prejudices. Iran, a unique endeavor. When so many monarchies perished, Mohammed Reza
Duda Elements says, are you an expert in the Middle East topic? Absolutely not. Just always trying to learn. Are you an expert?
Shah had ascended to the throne. Iran still adheres to her constitutionalist tradition.
So here's a view of their flag. This is the old flag that, you know, a lot of people tend to get in trouble because of having this flag, allegedly. And you can see this design. It's a really cool lion with holding a sword and a sun in the backyard, in the background, and green on top, red on the bottom.
With the oldest constitution in all Asia, she still remains a monarchy.
Yeah, that's all before the Islamic Revolution. Yeah, from what I understand.
Symbol of the new role of women in Muslim Iran is the active participation of Farah, the Shah Banu, in representing the dynasty, the state. She's in charge of whole sectors of national life, particularly in the fields of social activities, art, and culture. The number of children in primary schools has risen.
Look at what they're dressed and what they're wearing, you know, like look at this teacher. Much different than what it is now. So, yeah. Absolutely. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, go on live every day at 2026, and become a member if you want. Throw in some super chats.
Risen from 1.7 million to 4.1 million. In high schools, from 326,000 to almost 2 million. Of 152,000 students in higher education, about 1/3 are women. In 1975,
Duda Elements says democratic monarchy is way better than the Islamic regime. Is it better for the mass populace or only for a few? What do you think?
at Tehran University, 44% of all graduates in medicine were women, 47% in pharmacology as well as in social sciences, and 55% in education. Oil, the basis of Iran's wealth. The oil boom offering new opportunities, new challenges for the country's development. Steel mills built by the Russians, partly in exchange for delivery.
Ask Canadians. Just ask those Canadians, man. Nima Taylor says false information. What's false? Let me know what's false about this.
Delivery of natural gas to the Soviet Union. Iranian assembly and manufacturing plants already produce the greater part of all motor vehicles now needed in the country. From the southern regions burnt by the scorching sun, the Trans-Iranian Railway provides one of the few connections to the Caspian littoral in the north, where rainfall reaches 60 inches per year. Yet, as everywhere in Iran, most of the country's 60,000 villages are isolated from the outside world, the greater part of them strewn over Iran's high plateau and mountains. Since students from the regular universities could not stand the hardships of nomadic life, tribesmen were trained at special faculties. They are wandering with the tribes, teaching 70,000 children a year in Iran's mobile schools, the schools of the White Tents. The hearts of the Persians are still in the ruins of Persepolis, the ancient capital built in 520 BC by Darius, 230 years later burned by Alexander of Macedonia. In 1971, Iran celebrates her 2,500th birthday as a nation, as a state, and as a...
We got a few people hyping up Ron Paul. We got Babs42 saying Ron Paul forever, and user random alphabet says Ron Paul actually would have been an amazing president.
Monarchy, the oldest monarchy in the world with the youngest dynasty. But looking back to the empire of Cyrus, of Darius, of Xerxes, throughout the centuries, on the ruins of old towns, new ones were erected. And again, on the remnants of these, layer on layer, in this country so often invaded. During these thousands of years, the Iranians were often conquered, yet never colonized. So they remained a proud people, conscious of their history and of their heritage. This ancient land's armed forces today are continually equipped with the latest weapons. Iran's military strength has aroused suspicion even in the West. It should be remembered, however, that Iran again and again in her history has been unable to resist so many foreign invasions because of her military weakness. The Shah, here with Egypt's Sadat, has learned his lesson.
There you go. There you go. Thank you for the recommendation. Absolutely different. Absolutely different.
Well, remarkable story now about how some viral video creators are trying to impact the war in Iran. The group has flooded the internet with Lego-style videos that mock as well as criticize President Trump and the U.S. war effort. Our producer, Leila Garazulo, spoke with the creators about what they are hoping to accomplish.
If you're on the internet, you've likely seen these highly popular Iranian Lego-style videos.
Run back to your crib, you ain't safe on these blocks, get lost! Goldilocks!
Published almost daily, these detailed videos with American and Western cultural references have taken the world by storm. The group that makes these publishes across social media platforms, but recently had their YouTube account shut down for showing violent content. But who is behind these videos? Is it Iranian government propaganda? Are they in Iran or are they outside Iran? I spoke to the creators behind the viral Iranian Lego-style videos. I reached out to the team on X, introduced myself, and requested an interview. They promptly responded back and asked where I was from. As an Iranian journalist, I did expect this, and from there, the conversation switched to Persian. Before agreeing to interview with me, they asked if I was in support of the US and Israel's war with Iran. This was my response. As a professional and impartial journalist, my duty is to report events as objectively as possible, without the interference of my
Does she actually, though? That'd be great if people can be unbiased, right?
Personal opinions. As an Iranian, I would never welcome the destruction of my country. After another round of questions, these in English, we agreed to the group's first interview with an Iranian journalist and agreed to do the interview in Persian. Turns out, Explosive Media is a small team of Gen Z creators. 18 to 25 years old, they say they all reside in Iran, and most have never left the country. Their spokesperson, who requested anonymity, said the initial goal of these videos was to show the outside world what Iranians are like: educated, culturally relevant, and funny.
We know that the West has a bad perception of us. They don't know us at all. We wanted to break down this wall of censorship. We wanted to say that we're funny, funnier than you even. We understand culture and the arts, and we are incredibly educated. We know and understand your American culture well. You don't unfortunately know as much about our culture. We hope that you learn more about ours.
While the Explosive Media team is clear that they support the government, they told me that their videos reflect their own independent political views.
We are committed to the Islamic Republic. That's our belief, our point of view. No one has to tell us that. Before the war, we made critical videos of the government just like other media companies that criticize their governments. But once there is a war, internal fights no longer matter.
There has been some question as to whether they work for the Iranian government or have them as a client.
We did not say we work with the IRGC. We're like any other media company in the world. When they create something, the rights for distribution can be bought. The rights for distribution of some of our videos in Iran.
So allegedly, Ron Paul would be an excellent truth teller president, but maybe not an easy system manager president. What do you think, chat? People are liking and disliking Ron Paul in the chat. We got the best chat in the world, by the way, and we're developing an amazing community over here. Would love to have you all on board. And I guess, you know, someone would say Ron Paul is the guy who walks into Washington and says, everything you people built is fake, expensive, and probably unconstitutional, which is why half the country would call him a prophet and the other half would call 911. Yeah, Ron Paul wouldn't drain the swamp. He'd show up with a pocket constitution, a flashlight, and ask why the swamp has a Pentagon contract.
Have sometimes been bought by state media.
Since the very first Lego-style videos came out, there's been a lot of discussion as to whether these videos constitute as disinformation or propaganda. Mark Owen Jones, an expert in social media and disinformation, says the answer is a bit more complicated.
If I was to simplify it, I would see this as political satire, creative political satire, and a form of creative resistance against US imperialism. The fact
is it wrong to have political satire?
That it's leveraged by the Iranian regime, of course, that's just what they're going to do if it's effective and successful. And I think to try and frame it as either pro or anti-government or government propaganda is a bit complicated.
Whether satire or propaganda, these videos speak to a moment in social media and geopolitics, one that the Iranian government has adapted to.
And I think the regime have become very savvy about the importance of social media, certainly domestically. I think internationally they've been savvy about that.
And it's not just social media.
We got Babs42 jumping in on the chat. Happy to see you. Happy to see you. And Babs says tariffs are F-King economic extinguishment. Just to clarify a little bit. So a tariff is a tax on imported goods, right? And so a foreign product costs $100, let's say. Government adds a 20% tariff. Now it costs $120 in your country. That price changes the whole game, right?
Trends that have led pro-government Iranians to making these videos. The 2.5-year Gaza war has fundamentally changed the landscape in media and people's perceptions of the US and Israel.
But I really do think that the Gaza war has unleashed or has created a level.
But something you have to consider, like, what about those homemade goods, you know, from your actual small city, your actual small town? So tariffs actually kind of protect domestic industries, if you think about it. So if a foreign good is cheaper, then the local businesses just can't compete, you know, and if the local businesses can't compete, how's the welfare for the small guy in your town, the small girl in your town? You know, like those little mom and pop shops, they need to survive too, right? Yeah, tariffs also do raise import prices. You know, local products look more attractive. And they also use tariffs as political leverage for negotiations. You tax our goods, we tax yours. You know, the recent trade wars. We've all seen that.
level of criticism of Israel in US politics and European politics that we have not seen before. And I think the creators of these videos and the Iranian regime in general know that, and they are using that to kind of emphasize that this war is not in the interest of Americans, but the interest of Israel. I think these are themes that resonate very profoundly amongst not just the left, but also the right, or certain aspects of the right.
The rise of explosive media and Iran's new social media strategy has coincided with an internet and communications blackout in
K-School was talking about Paul Ryan, not Ron Paul. Yeah, there's a P and an R and an R and a P there. There you go. Different people. Definitely different people. Babs jumping in on the chat saying Paul Ryan is a neocon scumbag.
In Iran, a blackout that has left millions of Iranians cut off from the rest of the world. So how do these videos manage to make it out? Iran has set up an internal internet system for local companies and banks. And for people who can afford it, they buy VPNs and even Starlink. But Explosive Media doesn't use any of those. The group applied for an internet license as a news media company. The license allows news outlets to connect to the global internet. The process is
I think a lot of people would agree with you, Babs.
long and the criteria unclear. As we wait for a possible deal to end this war, Explosive Media says they too hope for peace. And in the meantime, they say they'll keep making these videos.
Well, thanks to Layla for that report.
Thanks, Delayla. Thanks, Delayla. So delightful. Delightful, Delayla. Straight up confused, Iran denies talks with U.S. as both sides claim control of same waterway.
Good evening, Brett. President Trump is extending the Jones Act shipping waiver. The Jones Act is a federal law requiring all goods transported between U.S. ports be carried on American-owned and crewed ships. The administration has waived that requirement through the middle of August. The extension comes as there has been little movement in the Strait of Hormuz, despite a ceasefire. 6 vessels have crossed in the past 2 days, and just 93 since this blockade began 11 days ago, according to Kepler.
How many usually pass through the Strait of Hormuz? It's a good question to ask, right? 90 to 100 per day? My goodness. Yeah, that's not flowing too nicely over there.
The U.S. says the blockade is ironclad and growing more powerful by the day. The Navy has stopped 6 ships carrying Iranian oil to squeeze their economy. The U.S. blockade on Iranian ports there and Iranian retaliation for it have kept ships anchored. The U.S.
We've seen some cargoes going for $4 million just to get through the Panama Canal. Historically, that cost is $200,000, $300,000. So clearly 20x in some cases getting through that Panama Canal. That's how much of a premium it is right now and how much demand has increased just in the last 2 months.
And what Navigator Gas is talking about is this bypass that global companies have taken to avoid the Strait of Hormuz. They are taking energy, cargo, and goods from the U.S., moving it west to Asia via the Panama Canal and paying a lot for that. As you heard, sometimes $4 million. As for the price of oil, it fell a bit today for the first time in 5 days, just about $95 the barrel. Brett?
Okay.
There you go, $95 a barrel. Hopefully the price keeps on dropping, right? Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Going live every day of 2026. Become a member if you want.
Lauren, thank you. But first, breaking tonight, peace talks between the U.S. and Iran could be happening soon. The White House says envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner will go to Pakistan tomorrow. Iran's foreign minister and his team arrived in Islamabad earlier today. But the Iranian state media insists they are not there to talk with the Americans. We have Fox team coverage. Lauren Simonetti here in New York looks at what President Trump is doing to alleviate the oil crunch. But we begin with Lucas Tomlinson, live from the North Lawn of the White House. Good evening, Lucas.
Good evening, Brett. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says negotiations with Iran will resume this weekend after the Iranians called and requested another round of in-person talks in an attempt to bring this nearly 2-month-long war to a close.
The president is dispatching Steve and Jared to go hear what they have to say, and we're hopeful that it will be a productive conversation and hopefully move the ball forward towards a deal.
Iran's foreign minister posted on X, embarking on timely tour of Islamabad, Muscat, and Moscow. Purpose of my visits is to closely coordinate with our partners on bilateral matters and consult on regional developments. Our neighbors are our priority. There was no mention of meeting an American delegation. Ahead of the talks, the U.S. blockade of Iran remains in place. U.S. forces have forced 34 vessels, mostly oil tankers, to turn around or remain in Iranian ports. One day after President Trump ordered the military to destroy any Iranian boat.
Babs42 saying faux news is just as bad as CNN, ? That's a good poll. Should we take a little poll? Let's do it.
Boats laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz, top Pentagon brass issuing the following warning.
There are paths that are open. And part of what the president is threatening is ensuring if there's attempts to recklessly and irresponsibly lay more mines, we're going to deal with that. It's a violation of the ceasefires.
The Joint Force remains postured and prepared to recommence major combat operations on the order of the president.
For now, the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, with hundreds of ships stranded in the Persian Gulf. Former CIA Station Chief Dan Hoffman outlined what he thinks are Iran's goals.
Iran is cognizant that the United States military is going to win every single military engagement. But what Iran wants to do is exhaust us politically and economically and try to win the peace when and if we ever get there.
When the American delegation departs tomorrow for Pakistan, the vice president will not be joining them, making it unlikely that a final agreement will be reached. Brett?
Lucas Thomas live on the North Lawn.
Pretty extraordinary for the first time.
Yeah, hopefully there is an agreement made very, very fast. All right, what's going on over here with these three massive ships?
Since 2003, there are 3
We could have a third option. What's the third option?
U.S. aircraft carrier strike groups all operating in the Middle East at the same time, accompanied by their carrier air wings, by the USS Abraham Lincoln, the Gerald R. Ford, and the George H.W. Bush, all in the region, including over 200 aircraft, 1,500 sailors and Marines, according to CENTCOM.
Babs42 says mainstream news is bought and paid for. I wish you were wrong, man. I wish you were wrong.
Bolster a remarkable show of force in the region right now. Take a look at this. These are our assets right now in the Middle East, lined up, surrounding the Red Sea, the Strait of Hormuz, the Persian Gulf, the Gulf of Oman, completely protected by American forces. Watch this.
If Iran is putting mines in the water or otherwise threatening American commercial shipping or American forces, we will shoot to destroy.
With that, we bring in retired Navy SEAL officer and former recon Marine Mike Sorelli. Great to have you here. His service includes, I should say, leading combat operations in Iraq. He is Chief Talent Officer at
Oh, third option of neither.
Overwatch Mission Critical, and it is an honor to have you with us. Thank you very much for joining us today, Mike. So,
thanks, Martha.
Mike, you wrote a piece today that was very interesting, and I think it's really important for everyone to remember what happened in 1979, the last time the United States had a defensive interaction that really did not go well when Jimmy Carter tried to send in helicopters to recover the hostages who were being held.
Definitely do not like to pay for war or anyone getting hurt or injured. That's definitely not the goal. We're trying to find peace over here. How can we find peace and inspire peace in the world, just so we can, go on and live our lives and try to be good, upright citizens. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, going live every day of 2026.
At the embassy, the legacy of Eagle Claw, how failure helped build America's elite special forces, which you became part of. So when you look at this array...
What does her necklace symbolize? I'm just curious. It might be like a fashion piece, but that's kind of interesting to me. Very much interesting. If anyone knows, I'm gonna look it up right now.
Of forces that we have in the Gulf right now, compared to that, sum it up for us in terms of how different this confrontation is, Mike.
Yeah. Martha, when you show that overlay, the disposition of our assets, the only thing I feel is fear. That's pure fear. That is a wrath that nobody should be on the receiving end of. And if they are, they're never going to forget it. But, with this third carrier strike group, it adds combat power, mass, redundancy, or persistent operations tempo, and timely in terms of political pressure stepping into these talks in Islamabad. But you mentioned the amount of aircraft, 60 to 75 aircraft, destroyers, carriers, and that brings layered missile defense. It brings ISR and electronic warfare. It brings Tomahawks, and it brings logistics.
I think it's just like a fashion necklace. I don't think it has anything there. Everyone might think there's like some deep meaning, but 99% of the time it's either her name or her jeweler's invoice, so it could just be like a D, I guess, but yeah, nothing spectacular. I'm just always curious about like some of the jewelry. Like we saw Erica Kirk wearing some like interesting rings on her thing. Allegedly they mean something, I don't know.
It's called depth. So there are two purposes here. One, with this third carrier strike group, it increases the probability that we can open up the straits without disruption.
Melody Talks jumping in on the chat saying both are fake news. Yeah. That should have been like the third option, right?
But they're also prepared if these talks go back to.
We got K-School saying, I would say Fox Opinion's not as bad as CNN Opinion News.
To bring hell. And we have a saying, one carrier strike group will punish, two will dominate, and as I said, three brings a wrath that nobody should be on the receiving end of.
So what we see from Iran is continued aggressiveness, bluster. They have these small, fast boats, and everyone remembers the USS Cole.
Terry dropping some knowledge in the chat saying the Shah fled to the U.S. in 79. I think he is referring to the Iranian Shah. That's why they took the hostages. The hostages would have been released if the U.S. would have returned the Shah so he could stand trial. Very interesting.
So with all of these ships in the region, it's still a very large body of water all around. So are we able to prevent them from laying mines? Can we sweep these mines? And can we prevent these small fast boats from hitting and damaging or killing any of our people?
Can we? Yes. Will we? Yes. Does it take time? Absolutely. So, with the third carrier strike group, one, it allows them to sort of divide the straits, which is roughly anywhere from 3,000 to 4,500 square miles. That's a massive area. So with the persistent ISR, the ability to identify, track.
We got user Random Alphabet saying Erica Kirk never been the same since her husband was out with a career-ending neck injury. May his soul rest in peace, my goodness.
And then pass off to strike aircraft to remove these fast boats. It's what we've been doing in Venezuela, which is also a large body of water. So, Trump ultimately made the very command decision to add more assets to the region.
There you go. Got to add more assets to the region. Oh, the poll is just jumping around a lot, man. It's yeah, we'll see. Should we end the poll now? Yeah. All right. So we got 58% prefer Fox on one of them. All right. And then we have 38% on the other one. All right. Very interesting.
Increase our probability for success while also preparing for, reopening strikes if he makes that decision.
So here's the mine types. Let's put this up to show everybody what they have been working on. And it appears they started to lay these mines in March, right after the February 28th attack. So, and the question of whether or not...
Almost split right in the middle. If you take the average of both of those, we have 48% prefer CNN and 52% prefer Fox News.
We should be taking out these small boats. The president said, that the Navy has obviously his orders to go ahead and take these boats out. This is an international body of water. You can't lay mines in the middle of it legally and get away with it, right?
No, and the fact that the global community is not up in outrage and sending their fleets to assist the United States, it's disappointing. But, Iran has two real classes of mines. One is the Maham 1 and the...
Bab says, are you guys okay with the CIA deciding which elected officials in foreign nations to assassinate and dealing with the fallout of that? My oh my, that's a wild one. Is there a way to change that or fix that? Do we have a choice?
the Maham 2, and you see it on the display. You've got moored mines, and then the ones that are more technologically advanced, a little nastier in nature, are the bottom influence mines that work off the acoustic or magnetic signature of the boat. But we have the assets. MH-60 Sierras with LiDAR. We've got unmanned both surface and subsurface vessels that can identify them, send that location to the Navy that will then come in to destroy them. So we've got the capability, but to your point, it's a large region or a large body of water.
Freako, good morning from Central England. How you doing, buddy? Happy to have you here. Make sure you all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, become a member if you want, throw in some super chats. We're developing the best community over here.
Just takes a little bit of time. It takes persistence, dedication, and commitment.
And with every passing day that this blockade is held, their oil production facilities are overwhelmed and start to dry up and be shut down, which is an enormous burden on what's left of their economy. Mike Surley, thank you very much. Great to have you with us, sir. Thank you for
Thank you, Freako. Appreciate it, brother.
Service.
Thank you, Martha.
Good to see you. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth blasting our European ally.
There's her necklace. There's like a little D and then a little heart. And I'm just curious, like, what these chains mean, if they have any symbolic meaning. Don't know much about it.
Accusing them of refusing to step up as the United States moves to secure the Strait of Hormuz, warning the days of free riding are over.
It's also worth saying, this should not be America's fight alone. Europe and Asia have benefited from our protection for decades, but the time for free riding is over. America and the free world deserve allies who are capable, who are loyal, and who understand that being an ally is not a one-way street. It's a two-way street. We are not counting on Europe.
Hegseth is not counting on Europe. There you go. And we got Mr. Royalty 4 saying, how could you possibly still watch Fox News after they admitted to lying to their viewers? What do you mean lying to their viewers? I'd like to know. Send me a link, please.
But they need the Strait of Hormuz much more than we do.
Yeah.
And might want to start doing less talking and having less fancy conferences in Europe and get in a boat.
Get in the boat. Deputy U.S. Representative to the United Nations, Tammy Bruce.
Scott thinks that dude is completely full of S-hit, or maybe Scoff is talking about me. You never know. But either way, welcome.
Bruce joins me now. Tammy, great to have you with us. You know, the meeting that he just refers to over in Europe, having conferences in Europe. This is a statement that came out of that meeting with the UK and France. The work is part of UK and France leadership for a multinational coalition to reopen the strait, which sounds kind of like they're going to get involved and try to
User random alphabet. Thank you so much for the compliment, buddy. Yeah, trying to find the truth, man. We go on both sides, you know, left, right, everywhere. We just try to find it and try to find what type of moves we can make tomorrow and in the future, and see any good opportunities for everybody, you know, looking out for myself and all of the subscribers and members and everybody, you know, trying to develop a great community over here.
try to get it open. But the words are very important here. The sessions will advance military plans to reopen the strait. But here
reopen the strait. That's extremely important. And K-School doubling down, saying, what did Fox lie about? Are you talking about Dominion machines? Would like to know as well.
Here's the operative phrase: as soon as conditions permit, following a sustainable ceasefire agreement. So we're happy.
Scoff. As European, let me tell you, we are F-king done with the Zionist states. My goodness. Okay, here's cool. Thanks for the clarification, buddy.
Happy to show up and
yeah, what happened to America first as an American, right? Or if you're in England first, you know, like you should try to support and fix your own country first before you get involved in other countries. I think that's a widely agreed argument that has been stated before.
help with a military plan, but only after things are totally calm.
Well, you know, when the chips are down, you find out what you're made of. You find out what other people are made of. And I think the president has said repeatedly, but it's a very strong statement, that of course he can do this by himself. But
is the UK that bad? Is it actually getting that bad? My goodness. My goodness. Dragon Falling says, the UK, don't you mean the new Muslim country? My goodness. That's wild.
He shouldn't have to. That's the difference, is that he recognizes this, and this is why he wants the UN to succeed.
And I'm not saying anything against any religions or any of that type of stuff, but just from what I see on the news is like a lot of these immigrants that come, they commit a lot of crime and they commit a lot of fraud. I think there was a story in England, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but there's an immigrant who's getting a 4-bedroom house for free, paid for by the English taxpayers, while this other guy who's a plumber, he can barely afford a 1-bedroom apartment for him and his wife and 2 children. He's like, I'm paying my taxes for this immigrant to live here, and that dude doesn't even work? Goodness gracious. In a neighborhood that I cannot even afford? Like, where's the balance there? Where's the justice, you know?
He believes in people working together, in countries working together as a team. We have been doing it alone. And the president cares about that. He does it because it matters for the United States and our own security. But the fact is that we all have to deal with this. And he's been saying that from the moment he stepped into the Oval Office in the first term, telling NATO, you've got to have more defense spending. You've got to be able to contribute to NATO more, because otherwise Russia's going to eat your lunch. It's obvious, but we have carried the ball for a long time, and now it's recognized economically and otherwise.
Jed Common jumping in on the chat, saying that's leftist ideology for you. Good to see you again, buddy. How you doing? How you doing?
That all of us have to do this together. President Trump is showing them how to do it, and most importantly, that it can be done. So you've got things that have not happened forever because people haven't either wanted the status quo to change or felt it couldn't be done. This is President Trump's leadership. He's showing them it can be done, and he shouldn't have to do it alone. We benefit from the Middle East being more at peace.
Cold 33.8 says certain group of people are importing all the immigrants. There's a video about that. A wild video. My goodness.
Gulf countries are coming together and are operating in a unified way. Europe can contribute and make a serious contribution to world peace and to the future if they recognize that they need to step up.
But they're sitting on their hands. I mean, they don't seem to want to get involved. And there's also discussion and some reporting that maybe the dynamic with Spain will change, that maybe we should not maybe they shouldn't be part of NATO anymore. Maybe we shouldn't support a NATO that includes countries that are not supportive. Is that a real possibility?
Well, I won't speculate, even on hypothetical, certainly. But what we do know is that when you've got a force that comes together to be a deterrent, everyone must work together, that it is a partnership. The president has shown people what partnerships can look like, along with our allies who have been helping us with the Hormuz Strait, with Iran, with the Gaza Strip, the Board of Peace, the countries that have signed on to that as they link arms with us, because it means the world is safer, so everyone's nations are safer, and that the United States can lead the way. But we shouldn't have to do it all on our own, it's not just for ourselves. As the Secretary of War noted, that this is about the rest of the world also needs this to happen. And I think perhaps it's a matter of that it is happening, and now they have an opportunity to step up, and they should take the president's lead in that regard.
This is Keir Starmer on Thursday. Watch.
I'm here to serve the British people, always to have their interests, and to make sure that I make...
Kelly says, you think they will help America that abandoned them? Did America abandon somebody? What happened there?
The right decisions.
Thank you for jumping in on the chat, Kelly X3M.
For them. That is why I took the decision that we would not be dragged into the war in Iran. That is why I took...
Student of War says everything is scripted. Without a script, everyone will panic.
We wouldn't be dragged into the blockade of the Strait. That is in our best national interest.
Yeah.
He's in a bind, I guess. But yeah, I mean, somewhere Winston Churchill's rolling over in his grave.
Yeah, his numbers, when it comes to doing things for the people of his nation, it's a sovereign nation, but the people of his country are also not happy. His approval numbers are not good at all. It's a statement that, you know, no matter where you live and who you are, you want to be secure. You want your leadership to make sure that you can count on tomorrow, that you know what the future will look like. For the first time, the world is seeing that, yes, we've been held hostage, the world has, for 47 years with Iran, that everyone's just kind of tapped it along. President Trump said, enough is enough. We all deserve better. And this is, I think, the American people certainly understand that, but people in England and every European country around the world in Asia say it can be better and it should be.
Well, all these leaders gave lots of lip service to the idea that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Mm-hmm. But they apparently don't want to actually take the action to make that happen. And they don't even want to support another country, namely the United States, that is taking action on it. So, yeah, you're right. It cuts the wheat from the chaff, as they say, and we'll see who's standing in the...
And the president is persuasive, and so is success, and that's why this is all important.
Tammy, thank you very much. Tammy Bruce, great to see you.
Thank you. Same here.
We are seeing vessels transiting. There are paths that are open. And part of what the president is threatening is ensuring if there's attempts to recklessly and irresponsibly lay more mines, we're going to deal with that.
The U.S. is ramping up its mine-sweeping operations in the Strait of Hormuz after a report that Iran recently dropped even more mines into the key shipping lane. And we are joined now by the perfect guest to talk about this. Tom Sauer is a mine specialist and former explosive ordnance disposal officer. Tom, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Bill. Thanks for having me, man.
Of course. How does the U.S. find and remove these mines, and are we able to do it while the strait is contested?
The answer is with expeditionary mine countermeasures through my EOD brothers. That's one way that we're actively doing that right now. That involves unmanned underwater vehicles, which are essentially, you know, looks like a...
Yeah, Babs 42. Probably no one you just mentioned for sure. If you can't notice, I'm using a thing called sarcasm. No, don't bring out the cat.
A torpedo, essentially, and it transits the certain area with side scan sonar, synthetic aperture sonar, and it looks for any sort of shapes in the water. That's one of the ways we find them. Additionally, we do have mine countermeasure ships. The Avenger class ships are on their way to the region right now from Sasebo, Japan. And additionally, there are mine countermeasures helicopters. There's actually helicopters that you can use to hunt for and sweep for mines coming in elsewhere from the Pacific Theater as well to handle these. And it is, it's not an easy task. You got to remember that this danger hazard area that the Iranians haphazardly and irresponsibly laid some of these mines, it's about 540 square miles of water space. So it's not going to happen overnight, but it does take a little bit of time to find some of these mines. Now, worth keeping in mind is as of a couple hours ago, there were no confirmed mines that have been found. No ship has struck a mine. So, and it's also worth keeping in mind that this doesn't impact our blockade on Iran. We're still chugging along with that. We're still squeezing the regime.
Some of the boats reportedly dropping some of these mines are these little, fast boats that Iran has been sending out into the strait. President Trump has called them sort of a mosquito fleet. It sounds like he's given the green light to start wiping them out. Take a listen.
I've been doing this for 6 weeks, and their military is totally defeated. They're outside of the little wise guy ships. I call them the wise guy ships, the little boats that they have running around with guns in them. We'll take them out too when we see them.
If the ceasefire were to end and hostilities start up again,
Jeb Common says European leaders are selling out to Islam. Why would they help America get rid of them? Very, very interesting point. Yeah, especially if they're taking in so many Muslims. Are they worried about maybe some type of protests and some type of bad things happening inside of their own country if they go ahead and help America try to secure, if you would like to say, Iran? Very interesting point.
What kind of assets do you expect the Americans would use to target the so-called wise guy ships?
I think Wise Guy Ships or Mosquito Fleet is an excellent name, and there are plenty of assets out there. This is something that U.S. Central Command and Commander of U.S. Fifth Fleet has been contemplating for a long time, long before I even joined the Navy. Refer to them as fast attack craft or fast inshore attack craft. They're typically the Gashti class boats. These are just speed boats with outboard motors, and they mount some rocket launchers or machine guns on them. But you can also mount mine racks on them. We took out about half of them during our initial attacks, but that still leaves several hundred of them. And a lot of times it's hard to...
There's a large majority of your comments I cannot comment on. But make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. We're going live every single day of 2026. Throw in some super chats if you want, and become a member. It helps the channel grow.
Identify. You can see them on radar, but you don't know exactly what it is until you're right on top of it. But so some of the assets we have our drones and ISR platforms, but we also always have the good old A-10 with a few rounds of from that cannon will take care of a lot of them.
Yeah, that's a great point there. Got about 30 seconds left. Do you think any of our European allies should be there in the Strait with us, at least trying to help find and remove some of these mines?
Yes, absolutely. I did see a tweet, but from the Belgian Minister of Defense saying that they were sending their one mine hunter.
We got a shout out to Donald Trump. Kona Lese 1146 says, God bless Donald Trump, best president of our lifetime.
To the region. I didn't see that independently confirmed, but he did say that they're sending that out there. Might be a little too late. By the time they get out there, we might have already cleared the strait. Look, we've been carrying all these NATO countries on our shoulders for far too long. They've been essentially vassal states for us. And if they want to be peers and true allies, they should really start carrying their weight as well and be true partners.
Well, if the war starts up again, I certainly wouldn't want to be the captain of one of those so-called wise guy boats driving around there in the Strait. Tom Sauer, great, thank you for your insights. Great to talk to you this morning.
Thanks so much, Bill.
Indeed. Let's see if we can get that confirmation by bringing in the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Caroline, great to see you in what may be your last television appearance before you go off on maternity leave. It's very exciting for your family, I'm sure. So can you...
Shout out. Congratulations to her. Hopefully she has a great pregnancy.
Confirm that Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are headed to Islamabad to meet with the Foreign Minister Araghchi.
Well, thank you, John, for having me. It's great to be with you as always. And yes, I can confirm Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be off to Pakistan again tomorrow morning to engage in talks, direct talks intermediated by the Pakistanis, who have been incredible friends and mediators throughout this entire process, with representatives from the Iranian delegation. Look, the Iranians reached out, as the president called on them to do, and asked for this in-person conversation. So the president is dispatching Steve and Jared to go hear what they have to say. And we're hopeful that it will be a productive conversation and hopefully move the ball forward towards a deal. I mean, look, President Trump has made his red lines throughout this entire process very clear. He was flexible in extending the ceasefire. And so Steve and Jared will be off to hear what they have to say.
And it's my understanding that the Vice President, J.D. Vance, will not be going, at least not in this moment. But is there any indication that the Iranians are any more favorably disposed to accepting the U.S. conditions than they were the first time around?
Well, I think we'll see, and that's part of the reason that both Jared and Steve will be on their way. The president always wants to give diplomacy a chance. It's always his first option, and he's willing to do that here again. The vice president remains deeply involved in this entire process, and he'll be standing by here in the United States along with the president and the Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the entire national security.
We got Shane Aladdin 54 jumping in on the chat saying we could help get rid of the mines in 1 week. Yeah, that'd be pretty great, right? That'd be pretty great. What are your ideas?
Team for updates, and of course everyone will be on standby to fly to Pakistan if necessary. But first, Steve and Jared will be going over there to report back to the president, the vice president, and the rest of the team.
We got Jonathan Cal 3062 saying this is why we voted for Trump. Fix immigration, U.S. energy, focus, and woke DEI, and help stop the wars raging around the world. Trump MAGA. Showing some support to Trump MAGA. And we got Babs 42 kind of arguing that point, saying F MAGA, National Socialists, and the communist left. They both are garbage.
The team.
All right, definitely going to be a busy weekend of news. The big issue in the last couple of days has been these Iranian fast boats, the Mosquito Fleet, as the Secretary of War has been calling it, harassing ships of various registries, not allowing them to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, going up and actually shooting at them from these fast boats. Here's what the Secretary of War said about that earlier today.
Iran's battered military, the IRGC specifically, has been reduced to a gang of pirates with a flag. They cloak their aggression in slogans, but the world now sees them for what they are, criminals on the high seas. They don't control anything. They're acting like pirates, acting like terrorists.
So the Navy, for the most part, lies at the bottom of the ocean. And you've got these fast boats running around. The United States Navy has got plenty of practice shooting drug boats out of the water. Why not just apply that process here?
Well, you heard it straight from the Secretary of War this morning, and he's doing an incredible job on behalf of the president and our armed forces. And you heard it from him. The Iranian Navy, which was once the most powerful naval fleet in the Middle East, has now been reduced to piracy. These IRGC members, these Iranian terrorists, are running around like pirates in the Strait. And President Trump, as commander-in-chief, has given the green light and authorization to the Department of War to take lethal and kinetic action if they deem necessary. If these boats are threatening U.S. assets in the region, they will absolutely be dealt with accordingly. And I think the Secretary of War and the Department of War have shown how capable they are of dealing with drug boats, as evidenced by the many successful strikes on drug boats in the Caribbean Sea that were trafficking illicit poison here to the United States of America. So when the Commander-in-Chief gives an order to the Secretary of War, it is effectuated on when and if necessary. And we have shown that we have the most powerful military in the world. And the United States Navy is doing a tremendous job with this highly...
There's just one thing that I'm concerned about, and I hope that this doesn't happen. And it's a little hard to explain, so let me just show you. I just hope we're not this guy. Sitting on the edge of a tree, right? We got him here. If you read the title, you'll see the reason, but check this out. That's what I hope doesn't happen, honestly. But yeah, we'll see.
Effective blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, which is exerting maximum leverage over the Iranian regime. We are strangling their economy, and it's getting weakened by the second.
Of course, there's no end of criticism from the Democratic side of the political aisle on this. Not sure what their plan would be to do things differently. But Mark Dubowitz from the Defense of Democracies, who'll be on this program an hour from now, came out and said that, look, a lot has gone very right with Epic Fury, though there are some things left to do, including Battle of Hormuz, the Red Sea, the Houthis, enriched material, what to do about that. Pickaxe Mountain, which was this new facility that they're burying 300 meters below the hard granite of the Iranian mountains. Internal repression of Iranians, reconstitution of nuclear missile proxies. And
Cosmo Dave has joined the chat. I can't say that. Never heard that before, buddy.
and other items. You know, I have a lot of Persian friends. I run into a lot of people of Iranian descent in this country.
Thank you, Jeb. Jeb dropping some knowledge in the chat saying, have faith, brother, have faith.
Sure you do too. To a person, they're all saying, Mr. President, please finish this. Don't leave these guys in charge. Just get it over with.
Well, President Trump has been clear from the beginning what the objectives of this mission were. The objectives of Operation Epic Fury were, of course, to significantly diminish the Iranian regime's ballistic...
$270 billion they want coming from Diver Life. NZ, $49.98. Thank you for jumping in on the chat. But what's $270 billion? You know, that's if they have the ability just to print money. That would be horrible, you know, inflation and all those types of things. But how do they get to that number?
ballistic missile capability, which we have done. It was to completely annihilate their Navy, which we have done. As I said previously, it is sitting in the bottom of the sea. We've taken out more than 160 of their naval vessels. Ultimately, the goal of Operation Epic Fury was to ensure that Iran can never possess a nuclear weapon. And we've now transitioned into this diplomatic phase to get that done through the means of a deal. Now, President Trump has military options on the table that he always smartly retains as commander-in-chief. But right now, diplomacy hopefully continues, and we'll get to a place where the president's red lines will be met, where Iran will turn over their enriched uranium and where they will firmly commit to never obtaining, possessing, or moving towards creating and building a nuclear bomb. That's something President Trump has said for many, many years, long before he came into politics. He's just the first president in 47 years to actually act on it, and he deserves credit for doing so.
All right, well, we'll see what unfolds with Iran over the weekend. I want to ask you about the DOJ going after the Southern Poverty Law Center, which was at one point in its history a very reputable civil rights organization fighting the KKK. According to the DOJ, all of that has changed. And I guess the thing that's probably most relevant to President Trump is that they were paying the person who was involved in that Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, which was one of the biggest points of criticism for this president during his first term. What's his thinking on what's going on now with the DOJ and the SPLC?
Well, you're right. The Southern Poverty Law Center was a very reputable organization at one point in time, and they have unfortunately transformed into a criminal organization run by fraudsters who are paying for and inciting this very racism that they claim to stand against. Now, you mentioned the Charlottesville hoax, John. It's a brilliant point because that is one of the most vicious and egregious smears that has been used against President Trump over the course of the past 11 years since he got himself into politics. And this group funded some of the funders of that hoax that not only the media ate up.
JW4763 says the petrodollar is the reason we are in Iran. Worst case scenario, best case scenario. Please explain. Please explain. I get an idea of the reason you say that. From what I heard is they want to get away from the petrodollar, and that would be very bad if they turn it into digital currency and maybe into a foreign currency, can we say. But what have you heard? Would like to know more about that. Thank you so much for jumping in on the chat. And Max Ninja has jumped in on the chat. How you doing, buddy?
Like candy, but that the Democrats ran campaigns on. If you recall, in 2020, Joe Biden launched his campaign for president on the basis of the Charlottesville hoax. It was a total lie, and it was funded by this organization that claims to stand against racism. I'm glad to see accountability is being had thanks to the Department of Justice, and I would like to criticize the legacy media. If you read articles about this case and this indictment in the New York Times, they're trying to claim that this is a weaponization of justice from the Trump DOJ. It couldn't be further from the truth. This was a grand jury indictment made up of Americans who realized that this organization was engaging in criminal activity, and they need to be held accountable for it.
Yeah, well, the accusations in the indictment certainly are shocking, to say the least. I don't know if you've seen this yet. This just came out.
What's wrong with midgets, man? Come on. Master Link has joined the chat.
D.C. Appeals Court has ruled that the president's declaration of an invasion at the southern border, suspending asylum claims, is illegal, which I guess at the moment clears the way for the asylum process to restart. I'm sure that the White House would be appealing this. Have you seen this? What do you know about it?
I haven't seen the report, unfortunately. While it's newsy, it's unsurprising to me. We have liberal judges across the country who are acting against this president for
JW says the petrodollar was put in play in the Nixon administration. There you go.
political purposes. They are not acting as true litigators of the law. They are looking at these cases from a political lens. The Trump administration, everything that this president has done and signed with respect to the southern border is completely within his powers as commander-in-chief. And these judges should be thanking the president of the United States for ending the border invasion that was allowed by the previous administration. Tens of millions of illegal aliens who were fraudulently claiming asylum in this country and ripping off the benefits of hardworking American taxpayers taxpayers. The president has thrown the full weight of the executive office to try to end that scam. And of course, I again haven't seen the ruling, but I'm sure it's something our legal team will be quickly preparing to appeal, John.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll eventually, like so many others, wind up at the Supreme Court as well. All right, it's a big weekend for everybody who's in media here in Washington, D.C. It's the annual Nerd Prom, the White House Correspondents Association dinner.
We got Angle B77 saying, I'm 40 plus years old, male from East Europe, and I used to look up to the USA, but these days, my goodness. Yeah.
And for the very first time in his 2 terms as president, Donald Trump is going to be attending, and I'm sure he's got a lot on his mind. Give us a preview of his speech.
Yes, tomorrow night, the president will be going for the first time since he's been a sitting president. I think it's very fitting that he's going in the 250th year of our nation's birthday, since he is the most accessible and transparent president our nation has ever had. I can tell you, John, without getting ahead of the president, he is going to give a very entertaining speech, not just for all of those journalists in the room tomorrow night, but for the entire country. So your audience should tune in to the president's speech tomorrow night. It's going to be a good one.
All right, looking forward to it. And if we don't see you again before the big day, congratulations on the birth of your second child, and we look forward to you coming back.
Thank you, John. I'll be back soon. God bless you. Thank you.
That's nice. She says, God bless you. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. We're going live every single day of 2026. Become a member if you want. It helps the channel so much. Throw in some super chats if you want.
All right, appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow night. Thanks.
Ozzy, great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
So how do you see all this? What are we?
Second round,
Paul Walker has joined the chat. How you doing, buddy? Operation Island Man Fury in Iran is to try and limit the BRICS nations.
see many more rounds coming. The more this plays out, the more I see things that didn't matter before, that we never looked at it in foreign policy realm, which is like the importance of culture, the importance of the identity of a nation or the identity of the people in that nation, not a collective nation. So, it just behooves me how this process is unfolding. And I keep thinking of an anecdote which is kind of relevant, and I want to share it with you. It's about Iranian culture. So there is this tradition in a marriage ceremony in Iran where the bride and groom, who've already decided they're going to get married, who've invited everyone, they're sitting at the table, they're about to sign a contract. The cleric turns around to the bride and says, Miss whatever, the beautiful bride, are you willing to say yes to the groom? And the bride looks away and kind of gives a cold shoulder. And everyone knows the second term. Then that cleric asks the question again. The beautiful...
All right, so we just got this. So not exactly as far as Nixon. The petrodollar system was not implemented in Iran. Don't know if you said that actually, but... So after Nixon broke the dollar's link to gold, the U.S. needed a new anchor. So instead of gold backing the dollar, oil demand effectively helped back the dollar. The deal was price oil in dollars, recycle the profits into U.S. markets, and America provides security. That's the reason people say the dollar became backed by oil, aircraft carriers, and Gulf alliances. Yeah, the petrodollar wasn't some magic button Nixon pushed in Iran. It was more like America losing the gold anchor and then finding a new anchor in oil, Saudi Arabia, OPEC, and military protection. There you go. Diver Life NZ, that was OPEC, calls it live. He knows, or that person knows. Don't see the picture too well. Probably a dude. I think it's a dude. The dollar went from backed by gold to backed by oil vibes, and the U.S. Navy. That's not monetary policy. That's a Fast and Furious sequel with economists. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. We are going live every single day of 2026, developing a great community over here, and become a member. Throw in some super chats.
Full bride, are you willing to give your hand to this groom? The bride smirks and, looks away again as if, how dare you ask me this question? I'm not interested. You know that I'm not interested. We all know the third round. The third round comes up and it's expected for the bride to say yes. So why am I sharing this with you? It doesn't have a political value except that we understand, the Iranian Iran watchers, understand that the Islamic regime is playing hard to get. This is the only tool they have. Don't expect us to come. Don't expect us to even directly negotiate with you, where you have Iraq just saying that there is no direct negotiations. This is the only tool left in their toolbox when they are lacking firepower in the battleground, in the military operations. This is how they can drag the American negotiators along.
So that tells me something you and I have talked about before, that a lot of what's at stake here right now is pride.
Yes.
IRGC pride. So that Khomeini is gone. Right. He did a great job at holding together all these disparate factions, and he...
Terry is saying Nixon had to suspend the Bretton Woods system because everyone wanted their gold they had stored in the U.S.
was able to have that power to sign off on things. Now it appears nobody has the power to sign off on anything, and that the IRGC has the power. Let's put these two pictures up that Nazi wanted us to have side by side here. This is Mohammed Bagher Zoghadar, who is the Secretary of the Supreme National Council, and Ahmad Vahidi. So are these guys in charge? I mean, do we think they're the final arbiters of whether or not any deal happens?
Well, let me just tell you that we really don't know who's in charge. For all that I've heard from Israeli sources today is that Mujtaba could even be dead. And, the news that, he's lost a leg, he needs surgery. It was almost too much information to share with the public. This is not the actual modus operandi of the regime to come forth with so much information. He could be dead.
Lone Wolf has joined the chat. How you doing, buddy? We've been on for about an hour.
And people around him could be just saying things, after an agreement and send it out as what Mujtaba has said. No one has come to say, I have spoken to the supreme leader and this is what he wants us to do. Everyone says, oh yes, we are in touch, we know what's going on. So yes, this is a matter of pride. This is keeping the spirit of the revolution together. This is saying that we're still united no matter how fractured we are. And, I have no doubt in my mind that the projection
How you doing, Drastic Plastic?
of power beyond its borders is greatly diminished. We
Thank you, JW. We're trying, buddy.
just can't be too confident that they're on the verge of collapse. That's a long way to go still.
So I spoke with Dan Hoffman this morning, who's former CIA station leader in the region. And he also spent 20 years covering the station in Moscow as well for the Central Intelligence Agency. He said there's no sign that there's any uprising at this point. And yesterday we saw...
So this one gets brought up quite a bit. Jonathan Cal 362 jumps in and says, please let Trump play this out. We had to stop this evil nuclear threat. Every single previous president said this should be done. Trump is the only one that has had the cojones to do it. Patience. What do you think, chat?
The Crown Prince, Pahlavi, someone threw red liquid on his back as he was out and about. So no sign that people are about to overthrow this government.
What does that mean, red liquid?
Not anything that we can see. But, I watched that interview with Dan Hoffman. I have huge respect for him. I agreed with every point he made. It's true that we think there are fractures within the regime. I highly doubt that report. I think still whoever is left of the rank.
So just to confirm what Terry said earlier in the chat, that's basically correct. Nixon did not end Bretton Woods because random citizens wanted gold. He did it because foreign governments and central banks had too many dollars and could demand U.S. gold. America had printed more promises than it could redeem. It was like the U.S. wrote too many drink tickets at the bar, and suddenly France showed up saying, cool, we'll take the expensive bottle. Well, sorry, there is no expensive bottle. But how you doing, France? You're great at making wine.
Rank and file, the clerics, the IRGC, they're still united behind the principles of Imam Khomeini, the 1979 revolutionary leader. The fractures are going to be glued over, talked over. There's a hierarchy of respect. If the superior to you wants you to change your mind, you will change your mind. There's no infighting. It's not a democracy. So it's just a matter of who holds power at that point. And, everyone else falls in line behind that. And Dan is right that,
Ronald Lawrence jumping in on the chat saying, notice that all countries that aren't under a central banking institution like the IMF, which stands for International Monetary Fund, are under attack. Venezuela was on that list along with Cuba. Very interesting.
The regime is very much...
Thank you, Jonathan. Happy to have you on board, buddy.
Illegitimate in the eyes of its own people. They want the regime gone. 90% of the people don't hold any value for the future of the leadership of this regime. But they also know that they are ready to kill. There is a new video by Rodon, who's the chief police of Tehran, who's comfortably sitting back and talking to an interviewer saying, we thought we are going to be toppled and we pulled out all our guns when we had no mercy in killing people. And he also shared that he was so scared of being targeted by the Israeli and American forces that he slept in his car for the entire time. They have no mercy on their people, and I don't think the people that are sitting in their homes waiting for that moment to rise up feel any opening yet. They don't see it.
Nazim Onyan, thank you very much.
Thank
Always
you.
good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Breaking news here on America Reports. Iranian state media says their foreign minister indeed will be in Pakistan, but not for talks with the United States. As the White House tells us, those talks are in fact on.
How you doing, Famous Forever?
With America's top two envoys set to leave soon. Listen here.
I can confirm Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be off to Pakistan again tomorrow morning to engage in talks, direct talks intermediated by the Pakistanis, who have been
Thank you, Terry.
incredible friends and mediators throughout this entire process, with representatives from the Iranian delegation. Look, the Iranians reached out, as the president called on them to do, and asked for this in-person conversation. So the president is dispatching Steve and Jared to go hear what they have to say.
All right, well, welcome to a new hour of America Reports. I'm John Roberts, and good Friday afternoon.
Thank you for having me back.
So who do you believe?
A very interesting point. Shane Layden 54 says, do you think we are in WW3? For some people, like say you're currently in Gaza, you definitely might think we are for sure. But I guess it depends on where you are, what your current situation is. And I don't know if that whole thing is going to work as people thought it once did. I hope all the wars stop. That's what I definitely hope.
Wow. We definitely can't believe the Iranians, right? We hear that all the time.
No.
Well, I'm Aisha Hasni in for Sandra Smith. We've got a lot to get to. Diplomacy picks up as U.S. forces are now also flexing their military might in the Mideast. CENTCOM says 3 U.S. aircraft carriers are now out there with more than 200 aircraft and 15,000 sailors and Marines on board at the ready.
And right now, President Trump is meeting with his top advisors in the Oval Office as we wait to hear from the president on what comes next.
Our correspondent Lucas Tomlinson is at the White House North Lawn with the very latest from the administration. Hi, Lucas.
Good afternoon, Aisha. And that report you just mentioned, introduction from Tasnim News, that's controlled by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC. So it looks like there's still some fissures in that relationship that we've been reporting on for weeks. Not everyone being on the same page, perhaps some blowback from the IRGC about the foreign minister's travels to Islamabad, ostensibly to meet with Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff after President Trump and his spokeswoman, Caroline Levitt.
Ronald Lawrence, thank you, buddy. I asked earlier what that red liquid means. So Ronald Lawrence says, just so you know, when red color liquid is placed on someone, it symbolizes bloody, that they have bloody intentions. That's one strong way to make a protest, Wild. So that's the reason they threw that red stuff on that man.
said that this trip was at the invitation of the Iranians. They wanted to talk. President Trump says he wants to hear him out. That's why he's dispatching his special envoys. And Caroline Leavitt also talked about the president's new red lines when dealing with those Iranian gunboats that have closed the Strait of Hormuz.
President Trump, as commander-in-chief, has given the green light and authorization to the Department of War to take lethal and kinetic action if they deem necessary. If these boats are threatening U.S. assets in the region, they will absolutely be dealt with accordingly.
Now, U.S. forces seized 2 Iranian tankers in recent days in the Indian Ocean. Iran then seized 2 commercial ships in the U.S. in the Strait of Hormuz, an apparent tit for tat. Those 2 commercial ships not from the U.S., however. With the addition of the USS George H.W. Bush, there are now 3 aircraft carrier strike groups in the Middle East, as you mentioned. It's the first time since the Iraq War in 2003 the U.S. Navy has dispatched 3 carriers to the region. Back then, it was 5. The Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, says Bush will be joining Abraham Lincoln to enforce the blockade in the Arabian Sea.
Not only is the blockade growing, in fact, a second aircraft carrier will join the blockade in just a few days, but this growing blockade is also gone global.
Standing next to the Secretary of War is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Dan Kane. He says U.S. forces in the region are prepared to relaunch combat operations against Iran if these talks go south. Aisha.
Okay, Lucas Tomlinson live for us at the White House to start things off. Lucas, thank you.
Let's bring in Dan Senor, former foreign policy advisor in the George W. Bush administration and former Pentagon advisor to CENTCOM. Dan, it's great to see you.
Good to be with you, John.
Unravel this for us. The foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, is headed to Islamabad. He's supposed to arrive there tonight. Iranian state media, though, is saying, he's not there for talks with the United States. Meantime, Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, according to the White House, are on their way tomorrow morning to meet with Araghchi to find.
It's so interesting. It's, sometimes we have this idea of just having the strongest military, the United States, and everyone wants to think that they have like the strongest military. And I'll show you exactly what I hope doesn't happen. Like this, if this symbolizes, I'm not even gonna say which military or anything, but, I just, the back kick,
Find out what Iran's thinking. So take that all apart for us.
Well, what we know is because of the war, the Iranian regime is fractured. So it's not entirely clear who's in charge. There's the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. There is these political officials like the foreign minister, like the speaker of their parliament. There's, of course, the supreme leader who nobody has seen. There are reports that he is wounded, if not worse. The Iranians have done a very good job of keeping his whereabouts quiet. So there's these different elements with no singular force involved. If you think about how the Iranian regime has made other major decisions in its history, take the 2015 Iran deal, the JCPOA. Ultimately, Khamenei, the supreme leader at that point, made the decision, we're going to do this deal, and he drove it through, and it wouldn't have happened without all these, with all these organs having differing views, without the supreme leader saying, we're doing this. So you look at the end of the Iran-Iraq War, 1988, Ayatollah Khomeini, he made the decision, we're going to end the war, and he drove that decision through the process. Yep. It seems like the supreme leader that is in power now, if he is alive and functioning, it's not clear he's in a capacity to make decisions. And so it seems like other actors are overriding each other, or competing with one another. And even if there are parties in Islamabad that want to kind of move things forward, they have to come back to Tehran or get messages back to Tehran. And because of the war, because of telephonic communications, electronic communications have been so damaged and so compromised, understandably, because of the war, no one is comfortable getting on the phone or communicating electronically to get an answer. So everything is communicated through messages and couriers. It reminds me a little bit of during the Israel-Hamas war.
Does this man need a slap?
Where every time there was process on negotiations to get hostages out or get some kind of temporary ceasefire, Yahya Sinwar was in some tunnel in Gaza, and there was no way to communicate with him. So Hamas was in Doha or Cairo trying to communicate, and every time they wanted a decision, they had to send all these messages back through intermediaries and couriers. We're dealing with something similar now.
Well, eventually Israel sent the ultimate message to Yahya Sinwar. Golubov is not going to be there, which is interesting. He took himself out of the process. Maybe there's a split with Vahidi or something. We don't quite know. So many machinations going on. I wanted to ask you about this. Hakeem Jeffries tried to make the point that he says that Iran is stronger now than before the conflict began. Listen to what he said.
The regime is still intact. We have not decimated their nuclear stockpile to the extent that it exists. And the Strait of Hormuz is now controlled by Iran, which was not the case prior to Donald Trump starting this conflict. That means arguably, at least as it relates to leverage that Iran now has that it previously did not possess, Iran's in a stronger position now than it was before Donald Trump started his reckless war of choice.
Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, because what we're trying to do here is we're trying to see things clearly. Yeah. And I hope it's working. I definitely hope it's working.
Jeffries' assessment would not seem to be well grounded in fact.
Iran, if you look at the range of capabilities Iran has had over the last number of years, including...
Waffle has joined the chat. How you doing, buddy? Somebody asked for the cat.
After the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal in 2015, Iran was able to invest billions of dollars, not only in its nuclear program and its conventional offensive capabilities, like its ballistic missile program and its drone program and its defensive capabilities, its air defense systems, and its nuclear program and its proxy system, right? The Houthis, the Hezbollah, Hamas, throughout the region. Every one of those capabilities is seriously degraded, if not all but eliminated. The proxy system, parts of it are gone. Other parts of it are at least severely weakened. They don't pack nearly the punch that they used to. Iran's offensive capabilities they're not completely gone, but it's a lot harder to wreak havoc in a region when you don't have an air force, you don't have much of a navy, and your capabilities, your ballistic missiles, your industrial base that produces your ballistic missiles and your drones and everything else are all but wiped out. And your decision-making process, as we're seeing right now, is completely discombobulated, right? There's no chain of command. There's no clear structure to decision-making. So is it to say that every war there aren't twists and turns and aspects that one doesn't anticipate? Of course, that is the case in every war, including in this war. But to suggest that Iran is the same threat to the United States and the West and our regional allies in the Middle East and to the world that it was before February 28th is completely disconnected from reality. Just simply look at their capabilities. Iran does not have the capabilities today that it had 7 or 8 weeks ago.
And last time I checked, it was the United States that's controlling
wild.
the Strait of Hormuz and not Iran and their little fast boats. Dan, always great to catch up with you. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Good seeing you guys.
All right.
Happy Friday. Live from New York City, this is The Will Cain Show, where we begin with a Fox News alert. The U.S. gearing up for a fresh round of in-person talks with Iran. The White House confirming Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner will head back to Pakistan tomorrow.
The Iranians reached out, as the president called on them to do, and asked for this in-person conversation. So the president is dispatching Steve and Jared to go hear what they have to say. And we're hopeful that it will be a productive conversation and hopefully move the ball forward towards a deal. I mean, look, President Trump has made his red lines throughout this entire process very clear. He was flexible in extending the ceasefire. And so Steve and Jared will be off to hear what they have to say.
For a brief moment, things were looking up as Iran announced it was also sending a top diplomat who, at this hour, has arrived in Pakistan. But state media quickly dashing that optimism, saying the foreign minister will not hold negotiations with the U.S. in Islamabad. It's back and forth like this that has the U.S. military sticking to its guns.
America's will is unshakable, our capabilities unmatched. Our blockade is only growing and going global. And as the president said, we have all the time in the world. Iran has a historic chance to make a serious deal, and the ball is in their court. Either way, the War Department stands ready for what comes next, locked and loaded.
The U.S. blockade set to continue for, quote, as long as it takes to get a good deal. And CENTCOM says so far 34 ships have been redirected, and that's a number that's likely to grow.
U.S. Central Command continues to maintain a strict blockade on all the ports. We're enforcing the blockade across the board against any ship of any nationality that is transiting to or from an Iranian port.
Babs 42 dropping a great statement saying, how something do you have to be to divide individual liberty across civil and economic lines when they both are intertwined and interdependent? Yeah, individual liberty does happen with civil situations and economic situations. Absolutely. And are they always intertwined? Mostly.
Or territory. We're closely tracking
SM Jeff Kameny says, let's arm wrestle for it. There you go. Who agrees?
Vessels of interest headed towards Iran and those moving away from Iran that were outside the blockade area when this blockade was ordered. And as everyone saw this past weekend, we're prepared and postured to intercept them.
This is a third aircraft carrier has been deployed to the Middle East for the first time in decades. That means
KO CJ and Gregor says, block Island Man P3Ds. How can people do that? How is that possible? Do you have a game plan?
the U.S. is wielding serious air power in the region. More than 200 aircraft are on board all three carriers, including multi-role strike fighters, electronic warfare aircraft, and stealth strike fighters, as well as early warning aircraft, carrier onboard delivery aircraft, multi-role helicopter, and carrier onboard delivery aircraft. As a reminder, here is how invested the U.S. is in securing the strait. Aside from those three aircraft carriers, amphibious assault ships and
Doing good, Waffle. Thank you so much, buddy. How you doing? We got Wicker Holmes saying Trump is the best. POTUS. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. We're going live every single day of 2026. Throw in a super chat if you want. Become a member.
transport docks, combat ships, guided missile destroyers, all at the ready. And it wouldn't be the first time. In the 1980s, the U.S. escorted some 70 convoys through the region amid a fierce 8-year fight between Iraq and Iran that became known as the Tanker War. The conflict born out of Iraq targeting Iran's oil infrastructure and saw Iran lay mines in its own campaign against ships in the region. Meantime, Iran pushing back on U.S. claims its leadership is fractured. The Iranian president writing on X, in Iran, there are no hardliners or moderates. We are all Iranians and revolutionaries, with ironclad unity of nation and state and obedience to the supreme leader. We will make the aggressor regret. One God, one nation, one leader, one path. Victory for Iran, dearer than life. How is the supreme leader? Well, we have this from the New York Times. Though Mr. Khamenei was gravely wounded, he is mentally sharp and engaged. According to 4 senior Iranian officials familiar with his health, one leg was operated on 3 times, and he's awaiting a prosthetic. He had surgery on one hand and is slowly regaining function. His face and lips have been burned severely.
Insider trading has worked pretty well for some family members with the last name that starts with a P,
making it difficult for him to speak. The official said, adding that eventually he will need plastic surgery, so doesn't.
I can confirm Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be off to Pakistan again tomorrow morning to engage in talks, direct talks intermediated by the Pakistanis, who are hopeful that it will be a productive conversation and hopefully move the ball forward towards a deal. I mean, look, President Trump has made his red lines throughout this entire process very clear. He was flexible in extending the ceasefire, and so Steve and Jared will be off to hear what they have to say.
Okay, that was the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, making some big news here on America Reports moments ago, confirming that Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are headed to Pakistan for more talks with Iran. Vice President J.D. Vance will not be going at the moment. It comes as the U.S. military is getting some extra fire.
So allegedly, J.D. Vance is not going for security reasons, or
power to help enforce a naval blockade. Our next guest has traveled through the Strait of Hormuz. He aboard the USS Bonham. Richard, I hope I said that correctly, retired U.S. Marine Corps Colonel Mike Jernigan is a visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us. Just give me a read on this moment here. We're surging our naval assets in the region. At the same time, we're sending our negotiators back to Pakistan. How do you read this moment?
I think this is the next step that needs to happen for a conclusion of this military conflict. What's happening, you're seeing, is you've got the Major General Vahidi, the Islamic Republican Guard head, who is kind of talking to the wizard behind the curtain, because he's the only one that can talk to the supreme leader. Nobody knows if the supreme leader is alive or functioning. But then also you have the other leaders in Iran that are the true country leaders that are figuring out that somehow they have to pay for all this damage that's happened. And oh, by the way, they're going to probably have to pay for the damage that they've inflicted on Bahrain and Oman and Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. So right now, I think what we're seeing is a juxtaposition of the military force already applied, the potential for military force to be applied again. Remember, the extension of the ceasefire in its current standing expires on Sunday in Iran, which is Saturday night in America. So this is a very timely, perhaps another last minute, let's try to get something so that we don't get bombed again.
Well, as Kushner and Witkoff head to Pakistan, Treasury just texted me that they are freezing $344 million in cryptocurrency that might be linked to the Iranian regime. At the same time, the Navy now has permission to go after these little drug boats, or excuse me, not drug boats, these little speed boats.
Was that a Freudian slip? What's going on over here? Are they not telling us the whole story? Make sure you all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. We're going live every single day of 2026. Become a member if you want. Throw in a super chat if you want.
That potentially could be laying mines, if they're suspected of laying mines, and the Navy can go after them, shoot and kill. Would it be difficult, though, for us to chase all of these guys around? There might be dozens and dozens of them, and the Iranian coast is very large.
Right. So there's two ways to go after them. You can go after them from your point about the coast of where they launch from, but you can also go after them from the target area. So it's going to be easier to defend the area that they're putting in mines instead of actually where they all come from along the whole coast, you know, the size of California. So you look into key straits where the people have to travel, and then you protect those. If they want to mine their own harbors close into their country, nobody cares. But if you start mining things in the international waterway, so the international waterway is what will be cleared of the mines. And yes, it is a significant job, but it's not an impossible job.
What's going to make them cave?
I think the note that you just got from Treasury, I think that's going to go a long way to helping making them cave, because they're getting paid in cryptocurrency. You know, they've been getting their bandit fees in the Chinese currency and the cryptocurrency. And now if the cryptocurrency is frozen, again, the real leaders of the country that are not the IRGC are saying, hey, wait a minute, brother, we've got to pay some bills. And they're cutting off our way to pay bills.
Okay. Mike, thank you very much for joining us. Always good to see you.
Good to see you.
Have a great weekend.
So for the first time in decades, we have 3 United States aircraft carrier strike groups operating in the Middle East. Look at it's pretty crowded in there. Check out the amazing array of U.S. firepower that is all around the Middle East right now. More than 200 aircraft, plus 15,000 sailors and Marines. The Pentagon gave us a briefing earlier today, reminding Iran, and it's pretty evident here, there's really no place to hide.
No place
We're
to hide.
closely tracking vessels of interest headed towards Iran and those moving away from Iran that were outside the blockade area when this blockade was ordered. And as everyone saw this past weekend, we're prepared and postured to intercept them.
Iran knows that they still have an open window to choose wisely. The choice is theirs, but with this blockade, the clock is not on their side.
And Mark Meredith is joining us live at the White House this morning with more on this. Hi, Mark.
Bill, good morning to you. Happy Friday. The White House says it has both the time and resources to keep the U.S. blockade of both Iranian ports and ships in place. But when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, the administration also very eager to see cargo traffic move through at a more normal pace, while at the same time, the president is threatening Iran and its proxies not to interfere.
Iran has an important choice, a chance to make a deal, a good deal, a wise deal.
LC Morganson says Taco Tuesday just got renamed to Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Thank you for jumping in on the chat. You might like this picture. What do you think? Decent? Pretty cool? That's right. Enjoying a little taco. We got Trump Tower taco, billions and billions of tacos. Tacos are amazing. I love tacos.
Deal. As part of that effort, the United States has imposed an ironclad blockade that grows more powerful by the day. From the Gulf of Oman to the open oceans, our Navy is enforcing this blockade without hesitation or apology.
The Secretary's comments coming one day after the president posted online that he had ordered the Navy to shoot and kill any of the boats that are putting mines in the waters of the Strait of Hormuz, that there would be no hesitation. That's the military front. When it comes to peace talks, some new developments to...
And just so y'all know, we have the capability to make images like these, and they're just great images. So that's just one of the perks you get as becoming a member of the channel. We go through some of these techniques on how to develop awesome situations, and this is obviously not an actual situation. I did not interview Donald Trump, but I would love to have the pleasure to interview Donald Trump. And
today,
by just to make it completely clear, I have zero disrespect for Mr. Donald Trump or anybody else in the world, just trying to find the truth in life.
As the Pakistanis first announced that Iranian officials, including Iran's top diplomat, will be heading to Islamabad this weekend for additional talks. We're looking to see what the U.S. reaction may be to that. It's unclear if this is going to be the pivotal change in negotiations, but it all comes as new polling from Fox shows where Americans are focused on. And believe it or not, it's not Iran. Instead, it's about inflation and prices. Democrats this week say they plan to hammer that message home.
Iran's in a stronger position now than it was before Donald Trump started his reckless war of choice. And the American people are worse off, particularly as it relates to the skyrocketing gas prices.
Gas prices, of course, top of mind. AAA says the national average over $4 a gallon right now. We'll see if the president has any more to say about these new potential talks in Pakistan. He's going to be heading out of D.C. just for one night, Bill.
Justin, thank you for the chat, buddy. I don't know if any news channel is actually telling the truth, honestly. Do you have a news channel that you can recommend that actually is telling the truth? I think all of them have a motive or a story they want to portray to try to sway the minds of the people watching. And it's hard to find the truth. You can always try to get information from the source, but even then, like, how often do people imagine things that happen rather than, they're like, oh, you know what, this story would be much more entertaining if I stopped a bus from hurting 40 midgets, because it was on fire, and I saved all 40 midgets, and to say thank you, the midgets all did 3 backflips at the same time. Like that story just sounds much better rather than, I helped a bus change a tire one time. So it depends.
We're back here tomorrow for the Correspondents' Dinner. Bill.
All right, we shall see what the weekend brings. Mark Meredith, live at the White House. Mark, good to see you.
So as we've been reporting, Iran's leadership is deeply fractured. And we'll see who shows up for this meeting that is said to be...
By the way, we're going live every single day of 2026, so make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications.
in the plans now. There's the official power structure, such as it is. I mean, who's actually running the show? Moshtaba, you see at the top. Remember, Khomeini, his father, ruled for 37 years, and he seemed to have the ability to keep all of these disparate groups sort of in line.
Yeah, that's a good point. Diver Life NZ says, try foreign news outlets. Those actually are very good options as well, because especially if you can find one from a country that is not under the control of anyone who's being talked about. Definitely.
That doesn't appear to be happening right now. Watch this.
They have all new leadership, and they're fighting like cats and dogs for who's going to control. Because we've created a real mess for them.
Fox News contributor Dan Hoffman, former CIA chief of station. Dan, it's always great to have you with us. And you have a lot of, as always, a lot of really interesting thoughts on where this is going next. One of the things that you have said is that we need to get the escalation advantage back in terms of the military stance that the United States is taking. When you look at that chart, you see those three carrier strike force groups. Is that being achieved?
I think we certainly have the potential to achieve that. Look, Iran is cognizant that the United States military is going to win every single military engagement. But what Iran wants to do is exhaust us politically and economically and try to win the peace when and if we ever get there. The Strait of Hormuz, for sure, is the flashpoint. We've imposed a pretty strong blockade. Iran has dropped reportedly 20 mines in the Strait this week. That changes the calculus of any ship that wants to get through. And U.S. military defense officials testified this week that it might take as many as 6 months to demine the Strait of Hormuz. So that's all to Iran, at least in their mind, their advantage. And I don't know that they're in a hurry to really get to negotiations right now. I think they're testing the United States to see whether we're serious about achieving escalation dominance. Now, President Trump has responded by saying we don't have a timeline, and we're going to increase our military assets in the region and in the Strait and continue to take the fight to Iran. So I think that's where we stand right now, with the United States seeking to gain that advantage.
Yeah, you also said, Dan, that they relish a fight with what they call the Great Satan. And if they can just survive it, it's almost like you think of, cockroaches or, like things that just want to stick around, and that is the entire motivation. And we heard from Pezeshkian and Araghchi saying, we're all on the same page. We're all for the survival of Iran. So when you hear that there's this meeting happening, and now they're saying they're going to send a small delegation, which I thought was interesting, because last time they sent about 30 people and they were all fighting with each other in the room. So obviously they figured out that's not a good look. Do you think this is going to be all about Araghchi? Do you think that Galibaf is out of the picture? What's your assessment of how much power these negotiators really have, Dan?
I think right now they are subservient to the IRGC because Iran is at war with the United States, and the IRGC is taking the lead in conducting that war. Foreign Minister Araghchi is going to lead this delegation report.
Silhan Omar, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you in the chat. And we gotta do a little shout out right now to Robert Stokes. Thank you for the gifts, man. Appreciate it. Veronica, get in here and tell Robert thank you.
Thank you for your support. I love you. Wishing you and your family the best.
Go on and do your push-ups. Good job, Veronica. Everybody loves you. Thank you, Robert Stokes.
Reportedly to Pakistan. The United States is not included in these discussions. I think in the backdrop of this, Iran is probably probing to see where the United States stands. How serious are we about negotiating? Are we in a rush to get to a deal? Remember, for Iran, it's about regime survival. It's also about demonstrating resilience to their proxy terrorists, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, demonstrating that they have staying power, that they can go toe-to-toe with what they call the Great Satan. So I'm not so sure Iran is necessarily in a rush to get to a deal. And remember, they're going to want a deal that's not even as good as the JCPOA. I think that's going to be the challenge for us, is to force Iran to make a deal that we want on their nuclear program, ballistic missiles, and their support to proxy terrorists, something better than the Obama administration negotiated in 2015.
You also say that there's no sign that there is a popular uprising coming in Iran. And it feels like all of this dynamic that gets dragged out over time, it doesn't really change if the IRGC stays in control, does it?
Yeah, I think that the question at the beginning of this war was,
Thank you, Joe 67123. Appreciate it, buddy.
could we change the regime? Well, we didn't. We decapitated the regime by killing the Ayatollah, but we didn't necessarily change the regime. Did we, or could we change the regime's behavior? I think that's still an unanswered question, and it may take some time before we arrive at an answer. I am sure that Director of CIA Ratcliffe is pulsing all of our sources inside Iran to determine just how serious the Iranians are about their negotiating strategy, what their plans and intentions are, so that the president can make the most educated foreign policy decisions.
Yeah, well, intelligence has been pretty astute in this entire conflict, and we'll keep watching. Dan, thank you very much. Dan Hoffman.
Thank you.
Be sure
Well
to
done,
like
Dan
and subscribe.
Hoffman. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Speaking of, make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Do we need to do a poll about Mr. Donald Trump? All right, we got a nice poll going on right now about how much you're paying for gas and which country and state you're in. So that's amazing. And we're just gonna hold it to right here for this woman. There we go.
Will take, obviously, you know that they are having
You
higher.
are such a disgrace.
I
Did you
love
know what I
you.
just said? Vietnam. How many years was Vietnam?
I understand, sir, but
How
you
many
are
years
past
was
your
Vietnam?
6-week deadline, so
Well,
I'm
I
just
did my
wondering-
I
I'm just wondering what you say to the American people
I
who are
took
wondering about
the country out militarily in the first 4 weeks. I took it out militarily. Now all we're doing is sitting back and seeing what deal. And if they don't want to make a deal, then I'll finish it up militarily with the other 25% of the targets. We've hit 78% of the targets that we've wanted to hit. We've knocked out their manufacturing. We've knocked out their missile production. We've knocked out their drone production. We've knocked out everything. In some cases, when I say knocked it out, 70, 80, 90%. It's amazing what we've done. So I've done that within that period of time that I mentioned, but I don't want to rush myself, you know, because every story says, oh, Trump is under time pressure. I'm not, no. You know who's under time pressure? They are. Because if they don't get their oil moving, their whole oil infrastructure is going to explode. You know what that means? Because they have no place to store it. And because they have no place to store it, if they have to stop it, something happens that only Len can explain. Something happens underground that essentially renders it in very poor shape, and you never recover fully. You can recover 50, 60%, but you can never have it like it is right now. And they have a matter of days before that event takes place. So I'm not under any pressure whatsoever. We've never had so much ammunition. Our ships are loaded. I call them locked and loaded. They're locked and loaded. They're ready to go.
Locked and loaded, one of the most entertaining speakers of all time, Mr. Donald Trump. Locked and loaded.
We have much higher quality equipment than we did when we first started the war, and or the military operation, whatever you want to call it. And they're coming to us. The problem they have is they are very disorganized right now. Well, now yesterday, and I was very pleased with this, 8 young women were going to be executed yesterday afternoon at 6 o'clock. And I asked them, call it a favor or call it just a moral request that they not be executed. And they came back with an answer that they won't be executed. They're going to release, it was protesting. 8 beautiful young women, very young women. And the pictures in the paper. And it's been a story for a little while. And I saw that and I said, let's see if we can save them. And it was very nice what happened. So they're not going to be, what they're doing is, as you know, they're releasing 4 of them very shortly, and they're going to keep 4 of them in jail for a period of 1 month and release them. So they won't be executed yet.
If you haven't already seen this interview with Anderson Cooper on CNN.
Yeah, that's so are those the pictures that we saw? Is that the AI pictures, or are those actually, because you never know, man. He's so busy with everything that's going. And also, I can't see her name, but what's that one of the eyes? 4 eyes. Thank you for the, 4 eyes. Thank you for the 4 eyes. 7 eyes, 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 4 eyes 100 for 2 jewels. Appreciate it, buddy.
This is Emily Callahan. She's an American nurse activity manager with Doctors Without Borders, and she spent 26 days in Gaza, and this is what she had to say.
Would you go back to Gaza?
In a heartbeat. In an app.
She's not afraid of being in Gaza. She was a nurse in Gaza. Man, hero on earth.
Absolute heartbeat. My heart is in Gaza. It will stay in Gaza. The Palestinian people that I worked with, both our national staff in the office as well as my staff at Indonesia Hospital, were some of the most incredible people I've ever met in my life. When everything went off.
Marianne Rudder, thank you for jumping in on the chat. She says, he just told you we have no ammo. I absolutely did not hear that. Is that accurate?
And we got the notice to move south of Wadi Gaza. I was texting my nurses at Indonesia Hospital, and I said, we lost a nurse weekend 1. He was killed when the ambulance outside the hospital was blown up. And I was texting them when we got the evacuation orders, and I said, did any of you move south? Did any of you?
That's what I heard. I heard that we got ammo. We have locked and loaded. We got enough.
You get out? Like, are any of you coming down this way?
Diver Life NZ says, there's no hospitals left. Absolutely none. Demolished.
And the only answer I got was, this is our community.
And I'm not laughing. That's not funny. That's sad, but, you know.
This is our family. These are our friends. If they're going to kill us, we're going to die saving as many people as we can. And I said, if I can ever have an ounce of the heart that you have, I will die a happy person. They were incredible. I would like to send out a reminder that there are civilians seeking shelter there, and that my doctors and nurses didn't leave out of loyalty to their community. And
they do not recognize my right to exist. There
Listen.
you go.
There's one way that some people kind of argue and communicate, and it's kind of interesting how this person is approaching the argument and then kind of altering the argument once the argument evolves. Let me know what you think about this one.
Have you ever been arrested by Israeli police? Have you ever been beaten by Israeli police? Have you been ever?
Actually, I have.
Yes. I really feel. You can check the bruises. She's all bruised up, right?
Let's just be clear. First, you're saying that if you haven't been beaten by the Israeli police, you're an equal member of society. And then when someone says they have been beaten by Israeli police, you say, where are the bruises?
No.
Look, one thing that
What do you think about that rebuttal?
he's conveniently overlooking is that Israel describes itself as being
And by the way, just to let y'all know, we're going live every single day at 2026. So make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, become a member if you want, throw in some super chats.
a Jewish state, which by its very definition excludes me. And the state is founded on this concept of Jewish privilege, which means that when the Supreme Court, this court that he lauds so much, has faced the question of whether Israel's a Jewish state or a democracy, it has always chosen Jewish state, which means that Jewish privilege exists. What they fail to recognize is that we didn't come to Israel, we didn't immigrate to Israel. Israel came to us.
You've been accused of being a war criminal.
And this woman over here has some cojones. This guy on the bottom, that's a double B, Netanyahu. And this is a wild one here, guys. This is a wild one. I wonder how, if she's going to get any pushback from saying such words to Mr. Double B.
If you went to go to several countries in Europe, you're going to get arrested. This is not just mad campus radicalism. This is a feeling around the world. You said it yourself to us just now. In public opinion around the world, Israel is doing very poorly. And it's doing very poorly because people see a country that is behaving in a way that is not compatible with being a liberal democracy. And therefore, I think you have a problem. I think that loss of public opinion, what struck me from your autobiography was how subtly and for how long you have understood this. You know that political power comes from public opinion, and you know that you need to win the battle of public opinion, and you're losing it. You've absolutely lost it in Europe, but much more worryingly for you, you're losing it in America. Israel is behaving in a way that we think is incompatible with the kind of liberal democracy that we claim.
Well, the liberal democracies, the ideas, the values that we cherish, exactly.
Prime Minister, it really isn't just extreme radicals. There are huge numbers of people who are concerned about Israel's behavior, frankly, including people like me.
Thank you, Ronald. Absolutely. You are accurate there. Happy to have you on board, buddy. And yeah, Should we run a poll on if anything's going to happen to that lady, or no? That's kind
Thank you for your support. I love you.
One of those
Wishing
things.
you and your family the.
And thank you, Veronica. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, we're just trying to find truth, and we're also trying to develop an amazing community over here as well. So, yeah, those are one of those things. So, allegedly, an Israeli politician got dragged out for disagreeing with a double B.
יש 17,038 תינוקות שהמערכת שלך הרגה. בנימין נתניהו, חברי הכנסת, מה הוא החזון שלך? מה החזון שלך, תגיד לי? מזה 30 שנה אתה רוצח סדרתי של השלום. לא, עצור.
Oh, okay, so this one is actually from not so recent. It's actually a year ago.
And lawmakers are raising new concern about the leadership of the FBI after allegations were.
Diver Life says, I wonder if he gave her a pager. Yeah. I guess you know what I was trying to say there.
Made against Director Kash Patel. Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee are calling for him to complete a formal screening to make sure he doesn't have any red flags in his behavior when he drinks, and it is not a threat to national security. The request follows after The Atlantic released a report detailing alleged excessive alcohol use and irregular attendance. Patel filed a major defamation lawsuit against the publication, calling the report pure fantasy.
That is a secure internet device from Glacier, works in 130 different countries. Basically, you just turn it on, it puts you on the secure server. Like I said, in over 130 countries. They set it up to where all your devices will just automatically link to it. Then you're not using public hotel Wi-Fi, you're not using airport Wi-Fi, you're not using anybody's Wi-Fi, especially overseas, and it's all encrypted.
So Wi-Fi is absolutely very dangerous if you're around hackers. And so what this guy did, I think he's ex-Navy SEAL, is he's trying to find a way to like create internet, and it works in so many countries like you just heard, which is pretty fascinating to see like where this technology is going to go.
And this is connected to like a cellular network?
This is
and it's so small.
Connected to a cellular network that runs through Glacier, and so all of your traffic will
This
be
is awesome.
encrypted.
And is there like a subscription fee for this?
We haven't released those yet. Great question.
Oh. So I get the free 99.
Yeah, you get the free one. So there it is.
Well, thank you very much. This is really cool.
Now you don't have to worry about public Wi-Fi anymore.
Well, I think it's more for the other people than me, but I appreciate.
Yeah, people need to worry about this guy if they're doing public Wi-Fi, man. This guy's a wizard if you guys know about him.
Appreciate it. I'll be using the crap out of this. I promise you that.
You're welcome, man.
Thank you very much. I didn't realize it did all that. It looks like a power bank, but it does a lot more.
You'll never believe what's behind this.
All right, so this is this one you probably think this is a little weird, but it gets even weirder, like super duper weird. This is Cars for Kids is fake. If you're over 30 years old, you're gonna know what this is. But if you want to know like where the money goes, you're gonna flip. Is Mr. One Boston in here?
Famous charity.
1-877 Cars for Kids.
So I need to pause it for a sec because you guys have all heard that song, right?
Their charity is only for Jewish kids, and not even poor Jewish kids. It's for giving them summer camps and Torah studies. Well, it's
you never knew this.
Top executives all make over $100,000 a year. Go ahead and fact check it yourself. ERA 1877 Cars for Kids. Is it only fits?
Only for Jewish kids? Yeah, basically. URA, the group behind Cars for Kids, funnels nearly everything into programs for Orthodox Jewish families.
Bruh.
They'll say all kids in the ads, but the reality? Tutoring, camps, Shabbat meals, yeshiva scholarships. It's all geared toward Jewish kids.
Alec Matthews saying charities are a scam for the rich and crooky. Dude, why didn't you tell me that like a long time ago, man?
Mostly in the Northeast US and Israel.
And the details get even crazier. They get over 100,000 cars a year and have had 1.6 million cars given to them total since 1994 when it all started. Here's a picture of their place in Lakewood, New Jersey.
Happy to have you here, TWT.
The same Zionist community that Tyler Oliveira helped expose.
That's crazy. Wow. Bro.
Insane, right?
They're cooked. No one's sending their car there ever again.
People are shocked at what American...
Yeah, and you think whenever you're sending your car someplace, you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, cars for kids. My money's going to go to a good place. This is great. This is great. I'm not saying it's a bad place, but it's not really for the kids. It's for a certain group of kids.
high school gym class looked like in the 1960s. This footage is from one of the 4,000 U.S. high schools that followed La Sierra's physical education program that was pushed to be the standard model by JFK. According to the La Sierra physical education standards that were outlined in their 1966 handbook, the minimum push-ups that a student should be able to do is 16, and they should have at least a 7.5-minute mile run. Considering most modern Americans struggle to even complete 5 push-ups, this 16 minimum is quite shocking. The top group that was outlined in the handbook is Blue Team, and to be a part of this you had to be able to perform 12 handstand push-ups and at least 14 pull-ups, which are crazily impressive standards. Considering 1 in 6 modern American children have obesity, it is a shocking sight to see how seriously fitness and health were being taken in the 1960s, and how even the president was helping push forward this higher standard of physical education in school. Many people wonder if America as a country will ever return to a place even close to this. But considering the trends in obesity and the culture shift of America...
Hopefully they do, you know, hopefully they do lean towards a healthier country and a healthier world, not just America.
It continues to seem unlikely.
We've become a fatter country. Makes you wonder, what's in our food? Why are testosterone rates going down so much?
One reason testosterone rates go down so much is because people are not doing enough squats. If you exercise the largest muscle group in your body, testosterone raises, just in case anyone is wondering.
Why is America so unhappy? We don't move as much. And the government, the masters of our society, want you on the couch, depressed.
Yeah, we got SM Jeff Kameny saying, have another Big Mac, Porky. There you go.
Staring at a screen. Maybe we should get back to how things once were.
And as you probably know, we didn't talk about the first one for an hour. And then somebody leaked something, which we'll hopefully find that leaker. We're looking very hard to find that leaker. And talked about there's somebody missing. They basically said that we have one and there's somebody missing. Well, they didn't know there was somebody missing until this leaker gave the information. So whoever it was, we think we'll be able to...
That's right. Don't skip leg day and find the leaker.
Find it out, because we're going to go to the media company that released it, and we're going to say, national security, give it up or go to jail. And we know who, and you know who we're talking about, because some things you can't do. Because when they did that, all of a sudden, the entire country of Iran knew that there was a pilot that was somewhere on their land that was fighting for his life. And it also made it much more difficult for the pilots and for the people going in to search for him. All of a sudden, they know that there's somebody out there. They see all these planes coming in. It became a much more difficult operation, because a leaker leaked that we have one, we've rescued one, but there's another one out there that we're trying to get. So actually, the country, Iran, put out a major notice, you all saw it, offering a very big award for anybody that captures the pilot. So in addition to a hostile, very talented, very good, very evil military, we had millions of people trying to get an award. So when you add that to it, but we have to find that leaker, because that's a sick person. Probably didn't realize the extent of how bad it was. I can't imagine that the person did, but we're going to find out. It's national security, and the person that did the story will go to jail if he doesn't say, and that doesn't last long, and I think everybody would understand it. They put this mission at great risk. They put that man at great risk, and they put the hundreds of people that went in looking for him, because everyone now knows that we're going in.
As a man, you cannot go out like this.
It's true. All right, so this is an interesting one, and kind of wanted to cover it because this is Sneako. He's another live streamer, and he has a very, very interesting stance, and is very polarizing. And he was just walking on the street, and he gets attacked. Dark Fury says nobody likes Sneako.
Look at this chat. It had to have been set up because look at the way he was like that, and he pulled out mace and he pepper sprayed my face. I never had pepper spray in my eyes before. He gets me, and I didn't even know what happened because I'm reading the chat. When I got hit, and I didn't get hit hard. I'm fine. I didn't get knocked out. It was nothing. It was just surprising. It's just like, what the hell? What was that? I had no idea. I didn't see him. I'm walking around the guy, and then he swings. He hits me like in the forehead. I hit in the forehead, and I'm thinking, I thought it was like construction or something. I thought it was like I was confused. I'm like, what is that? And then he tries to take me down. We get to the floor. There's a little bit of a scuffle. Shout out to Waze. Waze helped pull him off. We get up, and immediately when I get up, I see this. Imagine seeing that. I've seen that in movies. I look at him, and he's looking at me. Pepper spray right in my face. I really don't think that this was a random coincidence. I know there's crazy homeless people and stuff like that on the train or something, but I don't even think this guy was a hater because he would have said something. I think somebody.
Drag says Sneako will blame Assad. Wild, just incredibly wild that this would happen to a streamer. But I guess part of that has to do with his platform and his reach, and yeah, that's unfortunate.
Somebody paid a guy to do that.
A 61-year-old Canadian man who spent the last 2 decades in the U.S. raising his family and is now back in Canada. He was deported after spending 65 days in ICE detention.
Then just as I turned the corner, there they are. There was about 7 or 8 ICE guys, grabbed me right away, threw me up against the wall.
Sneaking back.
Douglas Dixon was arrested by ICE in February and detained. He moved to Florida in 2005 and got a green card. During the COVID pandemic, he was forced to close his smoothie cafe and fell behind in his taxes.
He did look like he was in good shape. He was probably not. He kind of looked like he was military or maybe some type of foreign military. You never know. You never know. But even like those days, like here's a picture of someone who's known as like a bad person, right? This guy over here, he's known as a bad person. And let me go wide for you guys. This guy, where is it? This guy's known as a bad person, but here he is feeding the homeless, you know, like what in the world? And then who's this? Is this the island man photographing him? Like just trying to get, you know, some blackmail footage of him doing something for these people? That's so wild, man.
He ended up pleading no contest to tax evasion and was paying it back, but he still owed $12,000. And under American law, defrauding the government of more than $10,000 is an aggravated felony. He spent more than 2 months in detention before a judge ordered Dixon to be deported to Canada and banned him from returning for life.
I didn't think that the United States was going to treat people inhumanely. They do not care about the human condition in those detention centers.
Dixon is now describing what it was like being inside the detention center known as Alligator Alcatraz, a facility U.S. President Donald Trump has said would house violent criminals. Dixon says from his experience, that was not the case. He says the majority of people had jobs and families and were in there for what he called nonsense reasons. Dixon shared a fenced-in cell with 31 other men and says detainees were only allowed to shower every 3 days and got 1 hour of yard time every 4 days.
What does a man have to do to work on his confidence?
If you operate... Well, that Canadian guy, he fell under unfortunate circumstances, and I guess that's what happens, you know? That's exactly what happens. But I don't know if we're getting the whole story, because maybe something else happened behind the scenes as well. So you got to think about that.
Afraid and fear.
Let someone try that in Canada. There you go.
When it comes to anything, you got to run towards the fear itself. And when it comes down to confidence.
Thank you, TWT. Happy to have you here, buddy. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. We're going live every single day of 2026. Become a member, throw in a super chat if you want, and be part of this amazing community we're developing over here. And this is a good video about developing confidence.
Building your internal confidence, bro. You really got to sit with yourself. You got to figure out, how am I operating, bro? What am I scared of? How many guys are walking around scared of rejection or scared of loneliness or scared of judgment and all these things? And then they get into a relationship. They'll settle for a relationship because at least I feel like this woman won't leave me. She won't make my biggest fear come true. If you're a man who wants to build your own confidence, you got to start loving yourself. You got to start expanding your comfort zone. You have to do the work just in yourself in any way, shape, or form, and continue to put yourself out there.
This is gonna set off conspiracies, but you and I...
That is absolutely true. Absolutely true. You know, you got to face your fear. What are you afraid of? Just get better at that thing.
I are having dinner with Caitlin Collins on the eve of the...
What do you guys think about Caitlin Collins? Seems like hot and cold are coming together.
The 2016 election. I love Caitlin Collins. I've never seen her on TV because I don't have a TV, but
I don't watch her on TV
she
either.
Was an
I'll preserve
sweet girl. I know you're not allowed to say that,
my
but
thoughts of her at that dinner. She was riotous. She was a great girl. She's a smart girl.
She's a great girl. I totally agree with.
Drax78 says she's a hack.
Despite whatever she says on TV, I'm not even aware of it.
I haven't watched CNN in a decade.
Hired her out of college and always thought so much of her.
So that's a pretty big deal when, you know, Tucker, obviously known as a person of the right, gets together with the person of the left and admires them. That's great. So political parties can get along.
One of the hardest working people I've ever met in my life. I don't think she's slept past 5 a.m. in her entire life. Like, she is a worker. I respect that. Yes, I do. Almost about everything.
Here is the Representative Ilhan Omar.
All right, here's Nick Shirley delivering Ilhan Omar a special gift.
Today we're here in the fraud capital of America. We're here in Capitol Hill, Washington, D.C. Here you have some of the best stock traders and top fraudsters like Ilhan.
Some of the best stock traders? We're just talking about Mrs. P over here. There you go.
And top fraudsters like Ilhan Omar. Right now, we're going to go.
Top fraudsters like Ilhan Omar. She from Texas.
Right now, we are going to give her a new hoodie. She took the last Leering Center hoodie. We have a new one asking...
She took the last Leering Center hoodie. Oh my God.
Asking, where did our tax dollars go? And we want to see if she'll become a member of the Anti-Fraud Taxpayer Club.
Anti-Fraud Taxpayer Club. Yeah, Alec Matthews 9122 says Nick is a patriot. Truth tellers. That's right. More power to Nick Shirley and protection. May the Lord look over Nick Shirley too. He's doing some wild things, man. Wild things. Shane Layden says she has a lot of wine. She makes good wine.
Now we've made it to Ilhan Omar's office. Here is the Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. There it says abolish ICE. I think we should abolish fraud here inside the United States. Let's see if they'll take the hoodie. Hello. How are you doing? Is Ilhan here by chance?
No.
No, she's not. Well, we wanted to see if she'd become a member of the Anti-Fraud Taxpayer Club. We actually have a new hoodie for her right here. And we were just wondering if you could deliver this to Ilhan.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And tell her that we wish to abolish fraud here inside the United States as well.
Don't say anything. Don't say anything about that person. Don't say anything about that person. Yeah, bro, what is that thing? I looked down for a second. I thought I heard a woman's voice, and I see this dude with a mustache. I might need to shave my... Come on, dude. Come on, dude. Oh, Stephen Wells. Thank you, brother. Liking my channel. I love you, man. Veronica, get in here. Say thank you to Stephen Wells.
Thank you for your support. I love you. Wishing you and your family the best.
Everybody loves you, Stephen Wells. Thank you so much. My goodness. Veronica loves you. All right, yeah. I'm not going to say anything about this guy.
Will you do that? And also, I met this really cute British girl, and she wanted citizenship, and I was wondering like how that would work out. All right, they're calling security. You got.
Are they calling security because he said I met this cute British girl? Like what's going on over here, man? What is going on? That guy got offended when he said I met a girl.
Guys, you can go ahead and become a member of Anti-Fraud Taxpayer Club. Go to antifraudclub.com. You can even cop yourself a hoodie. And now let's leave Capitol
Hyping it up. Anti-Fraud Club. That's right.
Hill.
We're not talking about the West Bank, where just 2 weeks ago, a Christian village ceased to exist because settlers from New Jersey took all their houses. You know, what happens?
I don't know what happened there. Trying to catch that one. Yeah, Nick is hilarious, dude. He's super hilarious. Did something happen to me?
Next, in the West Bank.
From New Jersey?
Yeah, there are a lot of synagogues in New York, New Jersey, Toronto that have these things called real estate seminars.
Waffle Jackson. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they do have the same ones. This is interesting how this video will not play. Oh, you know what? It's from 2 weeks ago. And let me show you.
Thank you for your support.
Oops.
I love you.
Veronica loves
Wishing
you.
you and your family the best.
So here, it's not playing at all, but if I scroll up, you will see, let me scroll up a little bit more. Here, I think that's maybe the reason it's not working. I have no idea. One sec.
Assets.
I'm trying to stay within the lines, you know. I'm trying not to do the bad things, y'all. Trying not to do the bad things. Trying to say, you know, island man instead of something else.
The region at the same time we're sending our negotiators back to Pakistan. How do you read this moment?
I think this is the next step that needs to happen for a conclusion of this military conflict. What's happening, you're seeing, is you've got the Major General Vahidi, the Islamic Republican Guard head, who is kind of talking to the wizard behind the curtain because he's the only one that can talk.
Okay, let's see if it works.
We're not talking about the West Bank, where just 2 weeks ago, a Christian village ceased to exist because settlers from New Jersey took all their houses. You know, what happens next in the West Bank?
From New Jersey?
Yeah, there are a lot of synagogues in New York, New Jersey, Toronto that have these things called real estate seminars.
TWT says that CIA guy is such a liar. Man, thank you for jumping in on the chat. I did not know that. Let me know. Send me a link if you got something, because I like to know more about it. Yeah, Alec Matthews, that's 100% true. He says your channel gets popular and truth spreads. They will try to censor. Absolutely. Gotta try to find that little thing of how to find peace. I think that's our number one thing, is trying to find peace on Earth, you know.
Where you can put your name on a list, and then they call you and say, hey, house just opened up over here in this Arab village that's not Arab anymore. Come take your house.
You are stealing my house.
And if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it.
And 2 weeks ago, the village that the Israelis cleared out was one of the last remaining Christian villages. Drives me crazy.
So, what do you think their overall strategy is? They eventually want to just take over all Palestine.
I think we should...
No, I'm being serious, TWT. Well, that's what I believe, you know. I assume. I don't know. I don't know anything, man.
We should believe the Israelis when they tell us that they believe in greater Israel.
Patrick Bet David, I recently saw...
Yeah, the Greater Israel Project. How accurate is that? figure it out.
It's like trying to copy your lectures a little bit, maybe you didn't see. But this is a good example of a Western Iranian. He comes to America, encourages this war, but then he's not going to fight in there. He's not going to enlist. He doesn't go back to Iran, not going to fight in the war. Are these examples of Mossad paid influencers, or are they just completely brainwashed and don't know how to submit to the fact that Trump completely lied about everything he said he was going to do in his campaign?
So Patrick David, he actually got in touch on Monday. He wanted to interview me. He wanted me on his show. And what happened was, that was the same day that there was a concerted online campaign against me. Like, it was just weird in that, I went on Twitter and like everyone was attacking me. And like, it was the same talking points. So I'm like, who are these people? And why is this happening all at the same time? So that interview request from Patrick David, I'm like, this must be a setup.
Yeah.
He wants me on a show so that he can provoke me into say something really stupid.
The charges right now, like he could be charged.
I guess Patrick Bet David is getting some pushback too on some things. What do you guys think? A lot of people say that he might be like agent from another country, trying to do some things. But I think, from what I understand, he's got some cool points. He's got some interesting people on his panel, and a few people that are rage baiters, aggressive people. And he's making a show, he's making a show. But I think a lot of his words come from a place of good and for trying to make the world a better place, which I do salute. I don't know him too much, but from some of the clips that I've seen, what do you guys think, chat? And this is an interesting one. There's a campus assault and citation, and you guys were just mentioning this red thing, the red liquid, and this is incredibly wild that this was brought to my attention yesterday. So, murdering humans is wrong is what it says on his t-shirt, and we'll see what happens here.
The charges right now, like he could be charged with something that's a citation, released, and we wouldn't need you to testify on that because we have that testimony just from video surveillance.
Yeah.
So, like a disorderly conduct citation, it's up to $500 fine or something.
And there was an incident where this lady was pregnant, and then she happened to be brain dead and actually died. And while she was,
are we talking about the woman in
with
Georgia?
I think she had like a tube to like still breathe.
She died, but her body could still hold the child.
If you were a woman, would you want that to happen to you?
Yeah, 100%.
You would want that to happen.
If I died,
you would want to be violated. Like,
heck, if I'm a man, if I die, if I walk out and I get hit by a car and die, and you can use my body to help someone else, heck yeah.
A girl can dream.
Yeah. Why do you not like organ donors?
So then what would happen then if did the baby even live after that, like with the mom being dead?
Yeah, the baby's alive.
It is.
I think they named him something. You were waiting that whole time to do that? Come back, buddy. Hey, come and give me a hug. Give me a hug. Let's hug it out. Come on. Come on. Come on. Hug it out. Thank you.
Liberal or conservative? What do you guys think?
For that. Thank you. I just turn the other cheek. What is this, by the way? What's your name?
What's your government name?
Yeah, no, what's your name? Because like hitting people, because a lot of people watch my videos, and a lot of people are going to see this, and they're going to say, listen, if you don't press charges, people will think that is good behavior. So I have to press charges on you. Okay? Because you double assaulted. So you got it in my ad time, so it's better.
Bad boys. Why somebody like him?
Got some music happening right there at the end. But dude, come on, man. The guy's trying to spread his opinion. Remember those days when the liberals were about freedom of speech? I'm not saying anything against the liberals, but maybe that guy's a conservative who threw the paint on him, and that guy who got paint thrown on him is a liberal. You never know these days. You never know. But anyways, just not cool, man. Hear people out. If you want to fight them, go to the gym. Put on some boxing gloves. You want to use some legs? Kickboxing gym. You want to wrestle the person. Go to a wrestling gym. Sign a waiver. Hire a referee. $20. An unbiased referee, so no one gets hurt, and set the rules, and just, if you want to be animalistic, right? Otherwise, if you're a civilian being in public, you're supposed to communicate. You're not supposed to hurt people or hit people for no reason. Come on.
Knowingly spreading lies when he could be doing what you're doing. What led you down this path and what's keeping him on the other side?
I mean, that's...
Yeah, TWT3716. You can go on my Discord and you can send me whatever you want, buddy. My Discord is on my YouTube channel. And make sure you all like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. We're going live every single day of 2026. And become a member if you want, or throw in a super chat. I love you. The Lord loves you.
It's the whole premise of selling your soul. It's like you get a bunch of shit that you want and you lose your integrity for it, right? I got blessed because I got all the things that I wanted already. It's not the center of my universe like it is with PBD, like it is with Tate. You know, it's going to be impossible for those people not to be ultimately compromised if somebody wants to influence them, right? Because it doesn't cost this, you know, the Jews at the Fed any money to print more dollars. What does it matter? You know, if they give him some, I mean, how many hundreds of billions of dollars have we given to Israel, you know, Ukraine, whatever? We just hand out this fucking money. So what is it for them to redirect 10, $50 million, whatever? It's a speck of dust on an elephant's ass. And so I think as long as you really, really care about money, you're absolutely going to be corruptible and you're going to be coercible. I mean, it's been happening since the beginning of time.
Why is Iran...
Yeah, Stephen Wells says it's a shame that you have to use code words on YouTube. Yeah, seriously, man. Absolutely, unfortunately. But, you know, yeah. And that's another thing to consider, that Yeah. We got someone in the chat saying conservative for the paint thrower. I don't know if that guy was conservative.
A perfect example of asymmetric warfare. Asymmetric warfare means that the opponent does not fight you on equal terms. The opponent is fighting you and using fewer resources to accomplish more strategic objectives. In the Iran situation, the Iranians had at least 20 years to prepare for today. So you're an Iranian strategist and you know how the Americans fight. Americans fight using aerial supremacy. It's fast, it's deadly.
Absolutely, Babs42.
But you also know it's expensive. What you recognize is that to beat the Americans, you can't fight on American terms. You can't use advanced weapons. You can't go head to head. You don't want to mass your forces. So what you do is you hide yourself in the Zagros Mountains. You prepare for a long war. I've done like 10 years, possibly 20 years. You decentralize your forces. The Iranians use something called the mosaic defense. It's almost like a spider's web, where each part, each node is responsible for its own local defense. And if any part breaks down, the surrounding areas come in to fill out their defense. But it's decentralized, meaning that the American strategy of decapitation strikes don't really work because the system is much more resilient, much more fluid than Americans are used to. And you try to inflict not military damage because the Americans can withstand that. What you do is you attack economic chokeholds. For example, the Strait of Hormuz, the oil fields of the Middle East. That's the idea of asymmetrical warfare.
Yeah, so that whole part of the economic warfare where they control the Strait of Hormuz, that makes sense because if what Dan Bilzerian says is correct, they can just print money like no tomorrow. And I just gotta point out to Shane Layden 54 says he wasn't conservative about throwing that paint. No, absolutely not. He was very liberal in throwing that paint. My goodness. And we got another one from Lunchbox 1911 saying liberals have never been about freedom of speech. They've been about what I say matters, and if you are a conservative, it does not. I wish you were wrong, buddy. I wish you were wrong, but in many cases you are accurate.
DOJ says there's no credible evidence to investigate Epstein's associates. As a former SDNY Criminal Division deputy chief who prosecuted sex trafficking cases, I disagree. In October of 2023, former U.S. Virgin Islands Attorney General Denise George went to the FBI with explosive claims. She said Epstein's lawyer and accountant were participants in Epstein's human trafficking operation. She said the sitting governor of the U.S. Virgin Islands tried to shut down her investigation. And she told the FBI that she had the goods in her case file. She even told the FBI where it was and how to get it. So here's the question. Did the FBI follow up on George's complaint or ignore it? There's no sign in the Epstein files of George's case file or any follow-up with her. Why not? George is a highly credible source. She followed the money across over 140 Epstein bank accounts. She identified over $3.5 million in payments to young women. She pursued the Epstein estate, JP Morgan, and billionaire Leon Black, and helped secure massive multi-million-dollar settlements from all of them. She fought the rich and the powerful, all while facing intense pressure to back down. Days after George filed the lawsuit against JP Morgan, the US Virgin Islands governor fired her. She started giving interviews, then got hit with a cease and desist letter to shut her up. An unknown man showed up at her home. She said the message was clear: we can reach you at your home. And despite all of that, she still went to the FBI. That's how strongly she felt that the FBI should open a criminal investigation based on what she had uncovered. She named names. She gave FBI a roadmap in her interview. She told them where to find the evidence in her case file. Did DOJ ever investigate George's bombshell claims? Did they get her case file? If they didn't, why not? And if they did, why isn't it in the Epstein files? The evidence exists. George told the FBI about it. DOJ leaders' refusal to investigate any of the Epstein associates is a choice, and it is the wrong one. The Epstein survivors deserve better.
Over Damar Governorate, marking the 16th US drone destroyed, with total losses now exceeding $900 million.
For the 5th consecutive day, our armed forces continue, with the help of Allah, to act.
Yeah, so she's dropping some facts on the Epstein files here. Island Man files. Waffle Jackson jumping in the chat saying, someone make sure Stacey Plaskett doesn't flee the country. What's going on with Stacey Plaskett? Congresswoman? Okay. Yeah. Just happens to flee the country, right? Just for whatever reason. That's true. Keep an eye on her. All right, y'all. I just want to tell you that I love you. The Lord loves you. We're going live every single day of 2026. So make sure you like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. And yeah, we are going to see you next time, and become a member if you want. And just want to let you know that if people are saying bad things to you and trying to make you sad, just let all of that hate roll off of you like water rolls off of a duck's back. And we will see you soon.